get saved, baby, I am not the answer. No. I'm a man with a gift and I'm doing my shit like. Trying to get saved, baby, I am not the answer. No. I'm a man with a gift and I'm doing my shit like. And I'm doing my shit like.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? Sorry, I've been doing some last minute, last seconds Googling. Google. Right? How are you doing? So glad y'all were here with me earlier and here with me now. If you weren't. Yeah. I don't know why. Do y'all's hair do that? Does it like go up on your neck? I hate that. Anyways. The things that bug Cresha. Oh, roll the scroll. Anyways, I did reach out while we were since earlier today. I did reach out to Rotting Jules or Dana to see if she would like to come on or and explain the ties to some really sketchy, really weird, sketchy organizations, weird, sketchy people. It's crazy. But anyway, so hopefully I'll receive an email back from her. But before that, I do my orbiting, of course, and I pulled up Google to I don't even know what for, and I saw just right, how it has stories just come up for suggestion or whatever, and it was about Tim Ballard and what it was. No, let's see. Now let me share my screen. We're gonna talk about this real quick. I always forget to hide myself or put myself in a different kind of aspect. Anyways, that's just background talk. Backstage talk. All right. So I'd seen this one. I saw where it says Operation Underground Railroad appoints new CEO amid Tim Ballard lawsuit. I haven't got to read it yet, but I was like, oh, it's interesting. A woman. I mean, here you have Marisol Nichols, who was complicit in the couples ruse. And anyways, it's just Catherine Ballard allegedly also complicit, and actually was one of the or was accused of by one of the people that filed suit of harassing the witnesses for Tim Ballard. Anybody who would speak out against Tim Ballard. If you're not for us, you're against us mentality. And anyways, and then I saw so Donna, before we came on, Donna, she saw me backstage and she was like, "Oh, I gotta tell you something." And so she told me about Nuance Ho. I guess I don't know what she did, but Nuance Ho's channel on YouTube was talking about a Tim Ballard doing some kind of documentary because that's how this dude fights, straight up. In my opinion, he has to use these big theatric bamboozle. It's just a huge ass bamboozle, in my opinion. Everything I say is my opinion. Okay, I hate saying it all the time, but I don't want it to get twisted or anything, and then be used against me in a court of law or something. But so my head's spinning right now. So let's see. Okay. Oh, I hear my little one. Okay. Let's see. Hold on just one second. No, I don't ever have it together. Today's not going to be any different. Okay. I'm looking for this slide. Hurry up. All right. Well, you know what? So let me go ahead and pull Melanie Gibb up on the chopping block. If only. If only. All right. Where's she at? Now, testimony. All right. So we're going to listen to Melanie Gibb testifying at Chad Daybell's preliminary hearing. She's going to talk about the basis of her relationship with Lori Vallow. She's going to talk about how Alex Cox brought, and I mean, this again doesn't make sense to me. It never did. How Alex Cox brought JJ in on his, laying on his shoulder, which I automatically assumed, and because you have to with all this, nobody's just like, yeah, I killed them. There's no confessions. There's just a lot of deflections, denials, distancing, and every other D word you can put in there. But yeah. Anyways, and then there's contact with Lori Vallow. Is JJ safe? Face-to-face meeting and not with Jesus. Okay. Initial call from Officer in Gilbert. Meeting with Mr. Wood prior to testifying. How would you describe your relationship with I didn't finish. Did Lori rely on Alex for babysitting? And then may this witness be excused. Okay, so there were just 10 key highlights there. Okay. Let me make sure I'm not sharing. Let me see where I'm at. All right. Okay, share this one. Sorry, I didn't see none of that I was just doing. Oh, my bad. All right, let me open the transcript up just in case. That way I don't have to move the video during. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and push play on this, and then while this is going, I'm gonna kind of be looking up some other things that I want to talk about. Maybe some more of these Tim Ballard crap. He's very much connected. It's just where and to what degree. Anyways, okay.
Miss Gibb, if you'll please come forward. You can come here through the gate on this side. Miss Gibb, if you'll stand here in front of this plexiglass, raise your right arm and face the clerk.
Not to the square.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case shall be the truth, but the truth?
Sounds like Lori.
Miss Gibb, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Ah.
Ms. Gibb, you can be seated here at this witness chair.
Yes, Julie.
Ms. Gibb, if you'll scoot up to that microphone and then pull it down below your chin and aim it at your chin. Mr. Wood and Mr. Pryor, I think the record
Too happy.
isn't picking up your voices as well as it is everybody else's. So if you'll do the same, pull that down and then point it up at your chin, it makes a much better record. If you'll pull it down, Mr. Pryor, and then point it up kind of like this so that you don't talk over it.
I heard that when people do
Mr.
this
Wood-
with their mouth, like when they purse their lips together or whatever, it means they want to talk and they're just trying to stay silent. I don't know, for what it's worth. I'm not an expert, but that's what she's doing. She's, trying to get to it.
If you'll scoot up to that microphone and then pull it down below your chin and aim it at your chin. Mr. Wood and Mr. Pryor, I think the record isn't picking up your voices as well as it is everybody else's. So if you'll do the same, pull that down and then point it up at your chin, it makes a much better record. If you'll pull it down, Mr. Pryor, and then
Maybe
point it up kind of like
she's
this
doing this.
so that you don't talk over it. Mr. Wood, you may inquire when you're ready.
Thank you. Will you state your name and spell it for the record?
Melanie Gibb, Gibb.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, are you familiar with the defendant, Chad Daybell?
Yes,
Approximately when did you meet him?
about 3-4 years ago.
A long time ago.
Do you remember where you met him?
Yes, I was in Morgan, Utah.
Okay. Since you've met him, what is the nature of your relationship?
The nature of our relationship
Could you repeat the question?
was talking about some of the books that Chad had written and his relationship with Lori.
You mentioned Lori. Is that Lori Vallow?
Correct.
Okay. Approximately when did you meet Lori Vallow?
October 2018.
Did y'all know that
And
St.
do you remember-
George?
Do you recall where you met her?
Okay, she just said that they met in Morgan, whatever. I already forgot it. In Morgan, Utah. What did she say? Damn, now I'm confused. But I typed it in, where Morgan, Utah and St. George, because I thought they met in St. George, right? That's what they would have you believe.
The nature of our relationship,
Wait. It's not.
Since you've met him,
Oh my God, let me go back.
4 years ago.
the defendant, Chad Daybell.
Yes,
Approximately when did you meet him?
about 3-4 years ago.
Do you remember where you met him?
Yes, I was in Morgan, Utah.
Okay. Now hold on. Oh,
Uh,
I just accidentally hit the L and not the K. All right, so now I pulled up this map and I typed in how far is Morgan, Utah from St. George. And it is 4 hours and 53 minutes. So, I mean, I was thinking maybe Morgan, Utah was just right on the outside of St. George because, I live in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Not really. I don't. I live on the outskirts. So I just thought it was kind of like that. But 4 hours and 53 minutes is, or however long, 5 hours and 27 minutes, 345 miles. That's a big gap. That's not like next door. So what happened in Morgan, Utah? We've all just assumed that it was St. George. I did. I assumed that. So anyways, for what it's worth, who knows? Yeah, they will. They love the camera, don't they? Yes, they do. All right. Let me go ahead and push play on the camera.
The nature of our relationship
She acts like it's a
was
trial
talking about
test,
some of the books that Chad had written
like it's a brain teaser.
and his relationship with Lori.
What?
Some of the books that Chad had written and his relationship with Lori.
When did they do that? Yeah.
Since you've met him, what is the nature of your relationship?
I heard she went out with him.
The nature of our relationship was talking about some of the books that Chad had written and his relationship with Lori.
Why? Why would they do that? If they had just met. And she knew Chad
You
longer.
mentioned Lori, is that
Don't
Lori
make sense.
Vallow?
Correct.
Okay. Approximately when did you meet Lori Vallow?
October 2018.
And do you recall where you met her?
Yes, in Mesa, Arizona, at a church.
Mhm.
What was the basis of your relationship with Lori Vallow?
It was based upon things that we talked about, which were spiritual in nature.
Mm.
Would you call yourself, were you friends with Lori Vallow?
Yes,
Are you familiar, do you know if Lori Vallow had any children?
yes,
Are you familiar with Tylee Ryan?
yes,
Did you ever meet Tylee Ryan?
yes,
Um, and did you ever have opportunity to see Tylee Ryan with Lori Vallow?
yes,
Hmm. I don't like her.
And was Tylee Ryan Lori Vallow's daughter?
yes.
Ms. Gibb, when was the last time you saw Tylee Ryan?
July or August of 2019
Bah.
Where was that?
in her house in Chandler, Arizona.
Hold that thought. I'm going to pull this up.
Are you familiar with JJ Vallow?
Yes,
Who is JJ Vallow?
Lori's adopted son.
Okay.
Mm-mm-mm.
When you spent time with Lori, did you have occasion to spend time with JJ at all?
Yes,
Okay.
What kind of time? What'd y'all do?
Ms. Gibb, I want to call your attention to, well, do you recall where you were between the dates of September 19th, 2019 and September 23rd, 2019?
yes.
Where were you?
Rexburg, Idaho.
Conjuring?
Why were you there?
I was there to visit Lori. I was also there to be at an event called Firm Foundation,
Yes.
Do you recall when you arrived in Rexburg?
Thursday, the 19th.
And do you know approximately when you left Rexburg?
Yes, I left Monday, the 23rd, around 9:30 in the morning.
When you were in Rexburg, where did you stay?
In Lori Vallow's house.
Do you recall the address of that house?
No,
Do you recall the general location of that house?
it was a townhome. I don't know the name of the street.
Okay. Was that townhome located in Rexburg, Idaho?
Yes,
During that weekend, did you have opportunity to spend time with Lori?
yes.
Okay. About how much time did you spend with Lori that weekend?
Most of the time, except for on Saturday, I spent most of the day, about 10 hours, up the street at that event.
Okay. When you were at Lori Vallow's house, did you ever have occasion to see Chad Daybell there?
Yes,
Okay. Do you recall approximately how many times you saw him there that weekend?
2, 3, 4 times maybe.
Okay, so you don't recall an exact number.
Not an exact number, but I think every day. I think every day is except for the Monday.
Okay, and it was Monday, September 23rd?
Yes,
Okay. Did you have occasion to witness Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell interact with each other?
yes,
How did they interact with each other?
affectionately.
Okay, and when you say affectionately, what do you mean by that?
holding hands, hugging, light kissing.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you ever have occasion to speak with, when you were, during this for approximately 4-day period in September, did you ever have occasion to speak with Lori Vallow about the nature of her relationship with Chad Daybell?
Yes, we talked about it often.
Okay. What did she tell you about that relationship?
That they were very much in love with each other and wanted to be together as soon as possible.
Okay.
Weren't
Did
they
you
together?
ever speak with Mr. Daybell about that relationship?
Most likely, but I can't recall.
Oh,
exact
God.
words.
Okay.
She can't effing recall.
Ms. Gibb, during that
Damn thing.
September 19th to 23rd, 2019 period, did you ever see Tylee Ryan?
No,
Did you speak with Lori Vallow about the location of Tylee Ryan?
she informed me that Tylee was at BYU, Idaho, and mentioned something about being with friends.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When you were, during that same period, did you have occasion to see JJ Vallow?
Yes,
Where was he located when you saw him?
it was in the family room mostly, and then outside some.
Girl, the living room.
Okay, when you say the family room, can you be more specific?
It's a
The
damn
room
apartment.
that's adjacent to the kitchen,
Okay, and what home was that located in?
Lori Ballow's home.
I want to call your attention to the night of September 22nd, 2019. Do you recall what you did that night?
Ms. Gibb, you're facing the state. I'm going to invite you to turn your
So
chair just a
awkward.
little bit
Mhm.
so that I
This
can
way?
see
Oh, this way?
this
Oh,
way, so that
oh.
I can see your face as you're speaking. I recognize you're answering Mr. Wood's questions,
So
but I need to see your face as well as you're answering.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What did you do the night of September 22nd, 2019?
The night of the 22nd,
Quit repeating the damn question.
I was doing a recording with Lori and David Warwick.
What?
And we were in the kitchen recording that.
Who is David Warwick?
He is a boyfriend of mine.
Okay. And you said you were recording a podcast?
Yes.
Okay. Was
On
Mr.
what?
Daybell there during the recording of that podcast?
No.
Okay. Do you recall if JJ Vallow was there during the recording of that podcast?
I did not see him.
Did you see Alex Cox that night?
Yes.
Okay. What did you witness or what did you observe Alex Cox doing that night?
He brought JJ into
Pretty
the
hard.
house during the middle of the podcast.
Okay. And did you see him bring JJ into the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
How did Alex Cox bring JJ into the house?
He carried him in
Okay.
and he was asleep.
And
Judge, this may have occurred, but I'm trying to get a foundation as to the time again. I may have missed it, and I apologize if I missed it.
Mr. Breyer, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Do you mind pulling your microphone down and then aiming it up at your chin? So, there you go. Repeat that one more time.
Judge, I missed the time, and I can't recall which time she said, if she did, when that occurred with Alex bringing the baby in. I don't recall.
All right.
I'll lay more foundation, Your Honor.
I didn't know if you did or not. I thought I may have missed it.
Please do.
Ms. Gibb, do you recall about what time Alex Cox brought JJ back into to Lori Vallow's home?
I can say we recorded the podcast between 9 and after midnight, a little after midnight. So someone in between that time.
Okay. You don't remember the exact hour?
I don't.
Okay. I'm going to call your attention to the morning of September 23rd, 2019. What did you do during the morning of September 23rd, 2019?
Upon awakening, I got ready for the day and came downstairs, had a brief conversation with Lori Vallow, and then got into the truck with David, and we drove off to Pocatello.
Okay. What was your conversation? Do you recall the content of your conversation with Lori Vallow that morning?
Yes,
And do you recall approximately what time you had this conversation with Lori Vallow?
sometime between 8 and 9.
Okay. What did you speak about with Ms. Vallow that morning?
She shared with David and I that JJ was acting with a lot of energy and I'm trying to remember the words. But
Yeah, the recital.
she recalled him climbing upon the refrigerator, knocking a picture down of Jesus, she said, and then climbing up upon the cabinets.
Okay. And did you see JJ that morning?
No,
Do you know if he was in the house that morning?
no,
Okay. And
She bothers me so
do
bad.
you have any idea of where he was that morning?
no.
Okay. Over the course of that weekend, did you ever have a conversation with Lori Vallow about Kay Woodcock?
Yes,
What was the nature of that? Do you remember when during that weekend you had that conversation?
Friday, Saturday, it could have been
Okay.
several of the days, I'm not sure.
What was the nature of that conversation?
She was expressing that she wanted JJ to go live with Kay, and she expressed different solutions. He could either stay with Kay or I believe a son of Kay's that had a family already that JJ was comfortable with, or that they liked JJ and it was a good match. I think they had a little girl, and she said that she would express to Kay that that she was sick or something was wrong with her, so that she could
Who does that?
live with
Never
her.
mind.
So that who could live with?
JJ could live with Kay.
Okay. And at any time after that weekend, did you ever have a follow-up conversation in regards to that subject?
Yes,
Do you remember approximately when you had that follow-up conversation?
it was shortly after. I can't recall.
What was the nature of that follow-up conversation?
I asked how it went, giving JJ to Kay. She told me that they met up in an airport, and she told Kay that she had breast cancer and that she would need help with JJ for a period of time. And she said it went well.
Okay. So was it your understanding after that conversation that JJ Vallow was located with Kay Woodcock?
Yes,
And had you ever met Kay Woodcock?
briefly.
When?
The time that Charles Vallow was moving out of his house in Arizona to Texas,
And who was Charles Vallow?
Lori's husband.
Okay. Ms. Gibb, I'm going to call your attention to the date of November 26, 2019. Do you recall where you were on November 26, 2019?
I do.
Where were you?
I was in Pleasant Grove, Utah, in David Warwick's home.
Okay. Now, do you live in Utah?
No,
Where do you normally live?
Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay. And so were you visiting Mr. Warwick that day?
Yes.
All right, I just want to read something to y'all real quick. And so I just followed a thread to, it's on Lori Vallow subreddit, and it says the Church of the Firstborn, research done and would like your feedback. This was 10 months ago. I've heard a lot of references to Church of the Firstborn today in court testimony via live tweets. I had no idea what that is all about, and really still do not, and frankly, don't care to. So I did some research on this topic via quick internet searches. There is only one reference in all of, oh my God, here we go. I can't talk. Anyways, there's only one reference in all of LDS doctrine that I can find in writing that refers to this phrase. It is in the Doctrine and Covenants, which I understand is considered scripture in the LDS faith. It is here. And so they left the link, okay, right here. And then it says verses 21 and 22 read, 21 says, "And now verily I say unto you, I was in the beginning with the Father and am the firstborn." Number 22, "And all those who are begotten through me are partakers of the glory of the same, and are the church of the firstborn." That didn't make sense to me because I'm not a theologian. So I did some further research. There are Sunday school lessons that are taught in the LDS faith. There is also something called seminary, which I think is religious courses given for school credit. And they put a question mark. One of those lessons discusses this. I found a lesson outline from 2014 here. And so here's a link for that. Excerpt from that page says, invite a student to read Doctrine and Covenants 93:21 through 23 aloud. Ask the class to follow along, and look for what Jesus Christ revealed about himself. According to verse 21, what distinction does Jesus Christ have among all of the spirit children of Heavenly Father? Students should identify the following doctrine. Jesus Christ is the firstborn of all the spirit children of Heavenly Father. Explain that because Jesus Christ is the firstborn of the Father, he is the quote unquote appointed heir of all the Father has. However, he wants all of Heavenly Father's children to share in his inheritance. Never mind. I already see the damn exploit right here. We are entitled to everything that Jesus has right there. He wants all of Heavenly Father's children to share in his inheritance. We have the opportunity to be joint heirs with Christ and be numbered among, quote, the church of the firstborn, unquote. In this way, oh my God. In this way, we also can receive all that the Father has. And it says, see D&C 7655 and all those other things. So it says how the people involved with Lori, Mal, Daybell, Warwick, Gibb, Mel P go from what little is listed above into thinking they themselves are God's spokespersons is incomprehensible madness, because it's not. That's not it. It's like so many other things that factor into that. That's just the only scripture they have on it. That doesn't mean that's all there is out there to learn about it, because, oh my God, you can count countless and podcasts and materials online that talk about this very thing. And not to mention all the times that these podcasters, these people who basically went from, being encouraged to write in a journal to the internet period, the internet age or whatever. And then whenever that happened, it kind of transitioned where people were journaling in their diaries or whatever, journaling online and then on these forums. And then, it just kind of snowballed. It big time snowballed. And then you get to a point where all these ideas are just so easily and readily available. And then here we are. So, I mean, it's all kinds of things. I think it's like it's from like the outside influences, but I mean, really, they're a self-maintained community. They don't really have to depend on anybody from the outside. So really, these ideas are they're concentrated, if you ask me, which is a recipe for disaster, in any type situation where that happens. Anyways, so it says, incomprehensible madness. Only other references I could find to the Church of the Firstborn other than the LDS references above include the General Assembly. There's your code words, because that's it. The General Assembly and Church of the Firstborn. You got to know that the LDS is very keen and up to date on like how to, I'm going to say it, how to find loopholes and evade things they're talking about. they can be elusive. There's different keywords. There's definitions for everybody else, and then there's the LDS definitions of things, and then they kind of have different words that you're like, how the hell is that? Like, okay, let me go and make an instance here. When the second comforter, um, that is meeting Christ in the flesh, a calling and election made sure, same thing. Okay, but there's like they have different definitions for these words, so we think we're talking about the same thing, but we are in fact not talking about the same thing. And so you have to look for little keywords like everlasting, because that means plural marriage. That means polygamy, from what I've learned. And the new and everlasting covenant, okay, that is polygamy. I'm just using that as an example. But anyways, the General Assembly and the Church of the Firstborn, often shortened to just Church of the Firstborn, is a fundamental faith healing sect. This group is not an offshoot of the Latter-day Saints. Oh, this group claims no affiliation with the various Mormon fundamentalists. Oh, I remember seeing this. I know exactly where that's at. With similar firstborn names. It also appears that there was an offshoot of the LDS faith in the 1860s with 300 members or so. Never heard of this sect, but here's the info on Wikipedia. That's the Morrisite. Okay. Of note from that page, the Church of the Firstborn rejected other teachings of Brigham Young, convenient, and the LDS Church, including plural marriage and the temple ordinances. With my little research above, I can reasonably conclude that whatever nonsense Chad and others were claiming to be or claiming to follow was clearly made up in their heads. No. Arguably to suit their personal wants and desires. Were they mainstream LDS at one point? Sounds like it. Are they now? Maybe not officially. Doesn't sound like it to me. But the only people that, well, actually, the only person that's excommunicated is Chad. And it's not even excommunicated, it's disfellowshipped. I have some stuff on that. And I also have somebody who explained on Quora the justification between the whole Laman and Lemuel, Nephi story. Nephi had to kill Laban, that story. And it was good the way they explained it. I'm going to look that up too. Okay, so I'm going to finish this and then I'll look that up while we play. Just because someone, wait, were they, okay. Are they now? Doesn't sound like it to me. What David Warwick just said on the stand was crazy. Yeah. Just because someone uses the word Christ doesn't make them a Christian. Amen. Just because they walk around the BYUI track, live in Rexburg, Idaho, or speak at conferences in LDS communities doesn't make them LDS. But they are still LDS. Liked his definition of the PAP, preparing a people. Had not heard that definition before. Haven't followed too closely what those PAP folks were doing. Now I don't even know what they're talking about. And then Silversmith says their concept of firstborn was strongly attached to the Firm Foundation for Indigenous Research for Mormonism. Firm Foundation. Beliefs from the conference they went to, meaning they also believed Mormons are the actual firstborn Native Americans, and they are the direct indigenous descendants. I'm Native American, researching a piece on the firstborn of the firm beliefs, and it is very scary. Can't believe it is still going on in 2023. Oh my God. And this person says wife is indigenous person, aka American Indian or First Peoples or Sioux Indian if you prefer. I'm not sure what conference they went to, but it is insulting to hear. I'd like a source on that. Keep us informed of your research piece. Anyways, when I was a child, Mormons would come to the reservation to look for lost Nephites among the Lamanites. All the light children had to hide until they were gone. Even now that science has proven the reason why some of us are light, which we always knew, the Mormons still harass us. I don't know why they go to such weird lengths rather than just admit what Joseph wrote isn't true. Amen. God. When I was a child, Mormons would come to the reservation. Why? To look for lost code word among the Lamanites. All the light children had to hide until they were gone. Why? So they wouldn't snatch them up? Sorry. Not really. I'm not sorry. Ew. Ooh, hold on. This is wild. I had no idea this was, I didn't either. In the late 60s or early 70s, there was an attraction at Knott's Farm. Knott's Berry Farm. Inside it, y'all, I had a dream too I've never been to Knott's Berry Farm or anything like that, but oh my God, it just made me think about it. It was weird. I don't even know what really it was all about, but it was like me and Uncle Charles and Lori. I've never done this. It was a dream. And it's like we were waiting on a ride. Anyways, for what it's worth. I'll have to think more about that later. Inside it, there was a glowing figure of Jesus. You could sit and listen to why Jesus had blonde hair and white skin, and he came right here to America. What the hell? That's weird. I had no idea. That background explains why Chad booked the trip there. Of course, his cult also likely hates Disney for being homophobes. No, there's Colby and Lori. Colby, who was it on they played as an extra. Was it Colby, I think? Yeah, Colby played as an extra on The Modern Family, I think. But anyways, yeah, Gigi has a lot on that. Obviously, I'm blanking on it. And this person says, the Blonde Jesus display was up decades ago. I'm not sure it's gone now. Chad had some reason to go to Knott's Berry Farm. I doubt it was for the boysenberry pie. I definitely learned something. I'm going to be giving Knott's Berry Farm major side eye. Color truly is just skin deep. Skin color has to do with melanin cells, I think, within the epidermal layers of our bodies. I grew up hearing that in the Old Testament, Ham and his descendants were cursed with black skin. Can't remember why. I remember that. Maybe I thought it was racist back then. I thought the original 10 or 12 tribes, what was that again? Were all different races in the Old Testament. Again, not a theologian, all from my memory. Biblically speaking, they were all located in the Middle East. Exactly. So they would have all been darker skinned, like Jesus. But this is a church that believes Eden was located in Missouri, of all places, and that's where Jesus will return. Definitely not to Rexburg or even to Salt Lake, and not to Israel as end times evangelicals believe, rather than the irrefutable truth that all of us share a common ancestor in Africa. Actually, I'd watched a documentary not long ago that was like, haha, it's the black people that are even more royalty than whites. I was like, that sounds about right. And I mean, and it suits all them, you know? Okay, and so this person says, I think you're saying that this is a church, LDS mainstream. I notice a lot of posts seem to combine the two. Chad and his followers, which there aren't. There's no followers, in my opinion. There's just people that were in the same circle that all go and belong to a bigger organization that never excommunicated them until after they were both jailed. So, nope. And actually, Chad served a calling. He was actively serving a calling in that church. I have it in his own words, and I have it, Christina Atwood saying it. Serving a calling. That means he worked under a bishop. Who was that bishop? I would love to know. Been scouring the internet for not since the beginning because I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't know what all that. You got to figure out who's above who, and I mean, how this works and stuff. And yeah. Anyways, but and I mean, I heard that Rob Wood was a bishop. So I don't know if he was a bishop in that stake, the same stake as Chad. It would be weird. Anyways, I don't know. Would love to know. biblically speaking, okay, I already said all that. I think you're saying that this is a church LDS mainstream. It is. I notice a lot of posts seem to combine the two. Chad and his followers believe they were to gather in Rexburg, Idaho, not LDS mainstream. It's one of the cities of light. There's multiple. You seem to know a lot about oh god, so this is somebody taking up. Okay. You seem to know a lot about what other faiths believe. Glad you're chiming in on my question about this. I had not heard of most of this, not seeking to learn much more either. Well then, as it does not bring me much happiness or joy. Okay. Um Seen all type of stats from Madison County where Rexburg is. Found this news article from 2 years ago. Madison County has the second highest concentration of Latter-day Saints of anywhere in the country. The Public Religion Research Institute published in its 2020 oh my gosh. The Public Religion Research Institute published its 2020 Census of American Religion on Thursday. According to the Census of American Religion, 68% of Madison County's population reported to be members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, falling just short of Utah County, Utah, at 72% of the population identifying as Latter-day Saints. The Research Institute is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to, okay, blah, blah, blah. Appreciate the side note, but it's just that, a side note. I think we can reasonably conclude is that, excuse me, it is possible for something as small as a statement like those who want to be a part of the Church of the Firstborn should be in Rexburg, Idaho, could grow from a tiny seed into a mighty oak over time. Chad saying, I had an outer body experience, or whatever hocus pocus he's spewing, may take root where there are a lot of people who may have heard the expression once in Sunday school lesson as a child. Go to where there is an audience, I guess. Sorry for Tammy and all this so much. Of course, the kids too. People have said that she was amazeballs and didn't buy into much of his lunatic fringe stuff. But I don't know any of the players in this at all to know fact from fiction here. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go into all this, but anyways, great to have someone interested. It's not as exciting as the murder/sex angle, but the firstborn sect was very into believing they were real American natives, Americans. And the weekend JJ disappeared. Oh, good. I'm glad I read this far because here's some links. Thank you, Jesus. All right. Okay. And the weekend JJ disappeared. They were all attending this extremely radical firm or foundation for indigenous research and Mormonism firm expo, Rod Meldrum event. The conference info for the year Valo went there has been scrubbed, but we found it. Sue Ellen found it. Okay. But I found a WordPress with their theories. First link, a sample of 2016 classes with titles like Anasazi, petroglyphs, are testimony of Christ. Second link. And the last link is to the firm expo this year, believe it or not. Oh, I know. I used to get so pissed off. These dangerous beliefs didn't disappear with the rest of Ballo and Daybell. Oh my God. Shout it. Okay. Unfortunately, the followers are growing rapidly. The short summary is that they believe the Bible. No, the Book of Mormon. I'll correct that. The Book of Mormon is based in the Midwest and East Coast of the U.S., and therefore the Mormons are the true native descendants. Current tribes are Lamanites who turned against God and therefore don't count. Oh, okay, so you separate the wheats from the tares, right? Doing that general sifting. The firm encourages Mormon interpretations of native artifacts and establishing Mormon cities of light. I'm telling you, to retake their indigenous land. So I don't know if y'all want me to press all this. Let's see. Let's go to this one. Something is making are there fireworks or something? What the hell? Y'all, I have the weirdest sounds when I'm live. Okay. Okay, so I'll drop this link in the chat. I actually drop all the links in the chat. How about that? Okay. Oh, I don't know what the popping noise is, but that's weird. All right, let's go carry on to, oh, Melanie Fibster. I hope the plant's not blowing up. That would suck. Okay, my bad.
Did anything significant happen that day in regards to Chad Daybell?
Yes,
Okay. What contact, if any, did you have with Mr. Daybell that day?
I received a phone call from Chad Daybell.
She looks
from
like
his
she's on
cell
Xanax.
phone to my cell phone, and I answered the phone call
Okay. And do you recall approximately what time it was?
late morning.
I text my mom while
And
she was in there. I was like,
you
is
said
she on
you got a
Xanax?
call from his cell phone.
Mhm.
How do you know it was his cell phone?
Because
His face.
when the phone number came up, it had his name on it.
Okay. And was that a contact you had previously stored in your cell phone?
Yes.
And
Can't recall. Surprised.
was
He looks like a frog.
Ms. Gibb, had you previously had any discussions with Mr. Daybell through that same phone number?
Yes.
Donna.
Do you recall what that phone number was?
Yes. It was 208-690-9374.
You funny.
Um,
Yeah, she does.
And I may have already asked this, I apologize if I did. Approximately what time were you called by Mr. Daybell that day?
Late morning.
I know.
Okay. What was the nature of that conversation?
Oh.
He said, "Hi, Melanie, this is Chad.
Mhm.
The
Go
Rexburg
back.
police are
I'll
going to
go back.
call you. Don't pick up.
Because that's interesting, right? The
The
guilt.
police are
The
going to call
guilt
you."
gulp. I mean, the Gib gulp. Can't talk.
And were you called?
Yes, it was.
Where? Let's see.
Ms. Gibb, had you, was,
I hate how fuzzy the video is.
Ms. Gibb, had you previously had any discussions with Mr. Daybell through that same phone number?
Yes.
Do you recall what that phone number was?
Yes, it was 208-690-9374.
666.
And I may have already asked this, I apologize if I did. Approximately what time were you called by Mr. Daybell that day?
Late morning.
Okay. What was the nature of that conversation?
He said, "Hi, Melanie, this is Chad. The Rexburg police are going to call you.
He's messed up.
Don't pick up." He
Okay.
said,
Where did the conversation go from there?
he let me know that the police were over at Lori Vallow's home in Rexburg, and that they were inquiring about where JJ was.
Y'all think that the police may have this at trial? You know, like, you know how there was Ray Hermosillo who said that he talked to Chad and Alex outside. Daybell denied knowing Lori's number, and he's been married to her, right? And then he finally admitted that he had lied about it. So, but I don't think he was wearing body cam for some reason. I think that might have came out in the trial. Why, I don't know. That's beyond me. Because I'm like, well, how are we going to know? John Pryor is going to tear that up. So I wonder if there are, like his phone call, if he called Melanie Gibb, I wonder if they have that, is what I'm saying. I don't know what's going on outside.
And that she was going to tell the police that JJ was with me.
Okay, how did you respond?
Why wouldn't she
in
ask anybody
shock,
else?
and I can't recall if I said anything at that moment.
Why wouldn't Lori ask anybody else? Why would she only ask Lori? I mean, Melanie. I just thought of that. Why would she only ask Melanie? Why would she trust Melanie to lie for her? And whenever we ended earlier, Donna and I were talking backstage, and what was it about? It was about oh, she was like, ever since, I brought that Mark Means filing or whatever, where he was like, he asked, Mark Means implied all kinds of things. Okay. So in that filing, I just kind of was like, why would he ask this of the prosecution? So I just shared it because for what it's worth, if it did happen, I mean, it definitely got buried, right? And looked over. And anyways, so Donna was like, ever since then, I've just been kind of looking over that whole interview with Melanie Gibb with East Idaho News and Nate Eaton. And so when we were talking, that was in like May of 2020. The kids were not found until June of 2020. So like a month later. And in that interview, it didn't register for me because I don't know. I did not get anywhere out of that interview with Nate Eaton and Melanie Gibb that everybody was dead besides my uncle. I knew my uncle was dead. I knew Tammy was dead. But I did not know that Tyler and JJ were dead. It just did not register for me. And so I think it was just like a protection or something. It's just so much information and you're trying to process it all. And anyway, so I was like, so how did Melanie Gibb know that nobody was on this planet? They weren't on this planet anymore. How did she know that? And then one could say, well, she was talking about Charles and Tammy. They're not on this planet anymore. Okay. Expound upon that. Because if she knew before the kids were found in Chad Daybell's backyard, if she did not have any knowledge, she wouldn't have said that, in my opinion. So I remember thinking of that a long while ago. So anyway, that's just one of those things, to use their words, ponderize, right?
Oh, I did say after the shock, I said, JJ's not at Kay's house.
And how did Mr. Daybell respond to that?
He said, no.
Okay. Was there any other content to that conversation?
I asked him if he was nervous and he said, yes.
Was anything else said?
I can't recall.
She can't recall.
That same day, November 26, 2019, did you have any contact with Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember approximately where you were when you heard from Lori Vallow?
Yes, I was in the same place.
Okay. And where was that again?
That was in Utah, in David's home.
And approximately what time did you hear from Lieutenant Vallow, Lori Vallow?
I possibly within an hour or two. I can't exactly recall.
Okay. And when you say an hour or two, what is that in reference to?
Her calling me, Lori calling me.
Right. Was it an hour or two after what?
I'm sorry, Chad's phone call.
What was the nature of that conversation?
When I picked up,
A
she
deceptive one.
said, hi, Melanie, this is, well, she probably didn't say her name, but she said, just want to let you know everything's fine. She was upbeat, cheery, acting like nothing was wrong.
You don't need to take Xanax.
What happened after that?
She told me that the police had been there asking for JJ, and that she told the police that I had JJ, that I was at a movie called Frozen, that she asked me just to pick up my phone and take a random picture of kids running around, and that she would come by and pick him up, and then, no, I'm sorry, that after me driving home from Utah to Arizona, that she would come and get him later that week.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. Skip. I'm gonna point you back to this conversation or the statement about picking up your phone.
Mhm.
What did she ask you to do with that again?
Take a picture of random kids to make it look like it was JJ.
And does that make sense? No.
And I kind of lost track. I apologize.
That's okay.
You said something about driving down to Arizona. What was that part of the conversation? Who said what?
So she knew that I was going down to Arizona for Thanksgiving, back to my home. And she said that she told the police that she was going to pick him up from my house from Arizona, which I had no previous knowledge to this. This was new information to me.
Okay.
Was it? Probably that part. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a conspiracy.
Did Lori say anything else to you about JJ?
She sure is uncomfortable.
I
Dr.
can't
G, will
recall
you
exactly,
do this
but I
one?
can recall what she talked about Kay.
Okay, what did she say about Kay?
She said that Kay was trying to kidnap JJ. And I said, how do you know? And she said, well, I've received emails, being threatened that was that he was going to kidnap her. I said, well, what does she say? And
Why would Kay be kidnapping him, but she'd ask you to watch him or pretend like you had him?
she said, well, she sent me emails, and she said, she quoted Kay saying, it's not like I'm going to kidnap him or anything. And that she was
I
that
hope
she
the
was
plant's
trying to
not blowing up,
protect
y'all.
JJ and from her and other people, not just Kay, but possibly family members as well.
Okay. And you said that to your perception, she seemed upbeat and positive. Were
Yeah.
those the words you used?
Yes.
To your perception, when you spoke with Mr. Daybell that day, how did he sound?
Very nervous.
Is that why you asked him if he was nervous? After receiving these phone calls, how did that make you feel?
Horrible. I felt in shock. I was not okay with it because she told something to the police that was not true, which I had no knowledge of. So I was, I had a really bad feeling in my stomach, and I felt very shooken up by it.
Okay. Do you know if the Rexburg police attempted to contact you that day?
They did.
Okay. How did they try to contact you?
They tried calling me, and once I believe they left a text.
Okay. And did you respond to them that day?
Not the Rexburg police, I did not.
Okay. How come? Is there a reason?
Well, first of all, Chad tells me not to answer it, and then Lori tells me that her child is in danger. So I'm not sure what to believe or understand what's going on this time. I'm very confused.
Okay. Did you speak to any law enforcement that day?
Yes.
What interaction did you have? Do you know which law enforcement agency you spoke with that day?
Gilbert Police.
Okay. And do you recall if there was a specific individual you spoke with that day from Gilbert Police?
Officer Ryan Pillar.
I'm sorry, can you say
Officer Ryan Pillar.
Ryan Pillar?
Correct.
And do you know how that last name is spelled?
Pillar, or there could be a Y, so I'm not for sure.
What contact did you have with Officer Pillar that day?
He called me, left a message, and I returned his phone call.
Okay. What was the nature of your conversation with Officer Pillar?
He was
He was
my butt.
responding to the Rexburg police and was asking about JJ and his whereabouts.
Okay. And what did you tell him?
I told him that I had been with JJ, but that he was back with Lori.
Why would you do that anyways? Who does that?
When you said you had been with him, what did you mean by that?
That he was with me, and then she came to get him,
Okay.
so that it would turn the police back to Rexburg and not with me, because I,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did she say that?
Now, Ms. Gibb, had you recently had JJ with you?
no,
So when you told Detective Pillar that you had, was that an accurate statement?
no, it was not.
Okay. And did you believe that JJ was actually with Lori at that time?
I was not sure.
Okay. So was that pursuant to the knowledge you had, was that an accurate statement?
Yeah,
But did you also tell Detective Pillar that JJ was not with you?
correct.
And was that an accurate statement?
Yes.
This is so boring though.
Is there a reason you told Detective Pillar you had him?
Yes, because Lori was misleading and she was manipulating me or trying to convince me
Oh,
that
girl.
he and she was in danger. And so because of our friendship, I thought, I have really no idea if this could be true or not. And I was very perplexed, very troubled, and I really did not know what to do. I was trying to reconcile all these feelings I had.
Bullshit. I bullshit.
Did you have any subsequent contact with the Gilbert Police Department?
Yes,
And do you recall approximately when that was?
I believe it was December 7th or 8th.
Mhm.
Okay. And what contact did you have with the Gilbert Police Department?
I called Officer Pillar and I informed him that who I was and that probably a lot more detail about the conversation about what happened, about JJ and Lori and Chad. And I also had something that I had recorded that I wanted to give to him.
Okay. Let's talk about that. What had you recorded that you wanted to give to Officer Pillar?
I recorded a conversation with Chad and Lori on Chad Daybell's phone, about 21-minute conversation.
To save your butt.
And that conversation was about where was JJ? The conversation talked about why did you tell the police that I had JJ when I did not? And she explained that. And I also explained to her my concern for her salvation and Chad's, and that they had been very deceived. And I also wanted to make sure that the police knew that I did not have anything to do with this.
That's all that it was about.
How did you record that conversation?
On a cell phone.
Okay. You mentioned earlier the conversation was with Chad's number.
Correct,
Was that the same number you discussed earlier?
correct.
And what phone did you use to have this conversation?
My phone, and then I had a recorder phone on David Warwick's, and so I put my phone on speaker, and then I recorded it with his phone.
Would love to see your phone records.
Had law enforcement asked you to record a conversation with Mrs. Vallow or Mr. Daybell?
No,
So this was something you did of your own accord?
yes,
Okay. Do you remember, and maybe you already answered this, what day you made that recording?
December 8th.
And where were you located when you made that recording?
I was in David Warwick's home.
I'm sorry, where?
I was in David's home.
I can't tell if he's
Okay,
sleeping,
David
like
Warwick's
wanting to
home.
sleep.
Yes.
He's
Okay, I
tired.
apologize. I
or-
misheard you. And again, is that the same
Resting
home in
bitch
Pleasantville,
face?
Utah?
Yes,
Okay. Your Honor, the state would ask that State's exhibit that has been marked as Exhibit 19 be shown to the defense and handed to the witness.
Exhibit 19 is being handed to the witness.
Ms. Gibb, do you recognize the State's Exhibit 19?
Yes,
Have you seen it before?
yes,
Have you reviewed the contents of that disc?
yes.
And when did you review the contents of that disc?
Yesterday.
Okay. And what is on that disc?
It's the exact conversation that I recorded on my phone.
Okay, and is that the same conversation you shared with law enforcement?
Yes,
And was it Detective Pillar that you shared that with?
yes,
Okay. And the recording on that disc, is it a true and accurate representation of the original recording you made?
yes,
Okay. Your Honor, the state would ask that State's Exhibit 19 be entered into evidence.
No objection.
Exhibit 19 will be admitted.
Your Honor, the state would request that Exhibit 19 be published.
Would you like to publish that on the screen here that's hanging on the wall?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there video and audio or just audio?
Just audio.
Miss Warwick, or excuse me, Miss Gibb, if you'll hand that exhibit to Madam Bailiff.
Okay. How are y'all doing over there? Let me check in on y'all.
Madam Bailiff, was there another disc in there? Yes. Will you please hand that disc to Mr. Wood so that he can identify it and we can make sure that that gets put into evidence?
Your Honor, that is.
Mine too. Mine too.
That is State's Exhibit 14. It's no longer in the case with the marker.
Okay.
On purpose. On purpose. Good old Exhibit 19, Bo Peep. Right? Good old Exhibit
Your Honor, would
19.
you like me to hand this to the bailiff or?
Yes, please hand it to the bailiff.
It was to bind him over in jail.
Madam Bailiff, do you have
Until
the
trial.
envelope that shows? Okay, Exhibit 14. All right, and Madam Bailiff, or Mr. Wood, the disc that has been placed in the television at this point is Exhibit 19, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
You're moving to publish that?
Yes.
Hey, Ashley.
Mr. Pryor,
in here?
any objection to publishing Exhibit 19?
No objection, Judge. Thank you.
You may proceed, Mr. Wood.
Thank you.
Where I saw somebody say hi to Ashlyn.
We'll be back on the record in State
Can't see
versus
her.
Daybell. The court took a brief recess to cool the courtroom down.
He
Commissioner, as well as
was a
to
hot judge.
allow
Word
Mr.
Hurley,
Wood
he
some
was
time to
hot.
get his technology ready. Mr. Wood,
Pulling it
you
down.
wish to proceed with publishing Exhibit 19.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may do so.
No, this lady though, y'all talking about, is the court reporter. And yeah, all that other stuff. Yeah. Everybody asks if it's my mom all the time. I mean, I
Yes,
was
we're
even like that
recording
too.
On
Okay.
December 8th at 3:43 PM. And I am calling Chad Daybell's phone number, and hopefully I will be talking to both of them, Chad and Lori. So here goes the phone call.
Oh yeah. That one there.
Hello, sweet Melanie.
Hi, Chad. Hey, Lori. How
Hey,
are you?
let me put on speaker.
Oh, okay.
Gotta let the real warden in and listen.
All right.
We're enough with the phone. How are you guys?
We're okay. How are you doing, babe?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I was wondering, where are you guys?
We're just hanging out.
Hey, Noah, are you in Idaho?
We're near Idaho.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, Lori.
Yeah, of course, honey.
I want to know, you remember we talked about JJ going to Kay's house, and you told me they went there, and now he's not there? I was wondering what happened.
Well, I had to move him somewhere else because of her actions. So,
Was she doing something? Like, was she trying to come get him or something, or like trying to kidnap him?
well, she said that lots of times before, but,
Okay, when I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, where is JJ? And he said, for my security, he didn't want me to know. So is there a reason I should be in danger to know where he is?
no, it's nobody, it's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
He was dead.
Okay,
They were dead.
So,
If you knew, that puts you in a danger.
well, just in a bad position. If
Yeah, bad position.
everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
Does
right,
anybody
so
else?
you're just worried, okay.
I'm just,
Does anybody else get the impression that Lori's like, like shut up to Chad? Like, I got this. That's the impression I get.
to keep him protected and
keep you protected.
keep everybody else good.
I appreciate that. Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
I just needed to have somebody so I wouldn't have to tell them where he really was because they were going to tell Kay where he is.
Oh, yeah.
What
So
if they
do
called
you
the
think
police?
it's like your family, or like your family, your dad, or those
Well, my
people?
family, well, not my whole family, but as you know, most of my family is working against me and
Yeah,
with her, basically.
yeah. Is JJ safe?
He is safe and happy.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Are you afraid of anything? Like, are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? Like like I don't, like if I knew, like how could that hurt me? I don't understand how that could hurt me if I knew where he was.
Well, I'm just not telling anybody so that nobody has to say where he is or get questioned to where he is, so I can keep him as safe as possible.
Yeah. Okay, I hope that he's okay. I hope you guys are okay. I did have a question that I asked Al at one point, your brother, if I wanted to know, like where he was, and he said I did not want to know, and that he could not be found. So what does that mean?
I don't know why he would say that, but it's the same story. Like I don't even want Al to know. I don't want anybody to know, so that nobody has to be
Accountable?
worried about it. I mean, nobody has to be questioned about it, so he can be safe
and happy.
Yeah. So how long are you gonna be away for? Like are you ever gonna be able to come out and come back to society again? Or are you gonna keep, come back? I mean, like, what does that look like?
I will do whatever the Lord needs me to do every day. So
Okay. I just wondered if I was ever going to see you again.
Absolutely, you will.
Okay, so maybe when they're done chasing you, you'll be able to come out again, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous thing for them to be working with Kay to find me. There's nothing that's gone on that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're working with her in some dark capacity. The police are working with her in some dark capacity. There's no reason for them to be after me in the first place.
Yeah, has she threatened you at all?
Yes, lots of times.
She should have.
What did she say?
Like, yeah, I didn't get a hold of you.
Well, it's in emails and everything.
So.
Oh my God, not
So
an
like,
email.
she said she was gonna come take them, or she was,
There's a lot of things,
yeah.
Nellie.
I know it sounds like it. I'm just worried for you guys because, he's missing and,
I know exactly where he is. He's perfectly fine and happy.
And
okay,
Chad
well, I hope
chuckling
so.
right alongside of her.
I had a scripture I wanted to share with you, if you don't mind.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about
Let
some
me
of
go
the
look
things
that
you
up.
guys have gone through, and I saw the scripture today, and I want you to
Let me
contemplate.
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question
Yeah.
about scripture. Okay, so did Alma turn himself into King Noah? Or what was he required to do?
Well, King Noah was incredibly wicked.
Yes.
And so he fled his evil ways, which was adultery and living
Which you're committing
riotously
to,
and
Melanie?
breaking all the commandments. He was a
Right,
very
so what
obnoxious man.
was required to do, Alma?
He had to go and flee so that he would be safe and then help other people realize how, jacked up the system was and the government was.
What about Moroni? What was he required to do at the end?
Marry you again?
to carry on those plates and bury them. That was
What
his
did he have to do
responsibility.
to do that? What did he have to do to do that? Did he hide?
He had to hide. He had to hide because they were so. Everybody was killing everybody in the society. Everybody was dying. They were killing all the Nephites.
And the scripture said to hide in the cavity of a rock by day and go out by night.
The prophets did.
They did.
Yeah.
She's
Okay. So
equivalent
thank
to
you
a
for sharing
prophet.
that with me. Okay, this scripture is just something that may be thoughtful for you. For behold, this is Doctrine and Covenants, section 3, verse 7 and 8. It says, for behold, you should not have feared man more than God. Although men set not the counsels of God and despise his words, yet you should have been faithful, and he would have extended his arm and supported you against all the fiery darts of the adversary. He would have been with you in every trouble. So when we work with the Lord and are obedient, He's going to protect us from adversarial darts and all kinds of negativity. But when we open the door to Satan, he comes in and then he attacks. And then he takes away to make it look like somebody else took it away. But that's not how God works. He doesn't work in darkness.
I agree with you 100%. And that's what the Lord is doing for me. Exactly what he's doing for me.
Okay.
Oh, it just
We have
sounds
not
weird.
opened the door for darkness, Mel. Darkness is knocking on the door all the time because that's the way dark works with the light.
That's just how people gotta knock
I promise you
to get in.
that I have done nothing wrong in this case, but sometimes you have to hide in the cavity of a rock for your own life safety. And that's what the Lord requires of you sometimes. And that's how it is. And I'm sorry that's how it is because there is a lot of darkness on the earth.
I know.
It's coming after me for zero reason besides the darkness of Kay, which you already know she's dark.
I haven't met her enough to know if she's dark or not. I've just met her slightly, and she seemed like a normal kind of person, but then I haven't engaged with her that much, so I don't know that personally.
So you don't know about her changing the thing for herself to be the beneficiary of the policy and all that stuff. None of that's dark, right?
Well, I haven't seen those documents, so I have no way of knowing.
You've seen them on my computer.
No, I have not. I haven't even looked in on your computer before. You haven't showed me anything.
I don't know why you're being controversial to me, or if you're recording this conversation for the police or whatever. I don't know what your intention is on this phone call.
Well,
but I love with all my heart, and I have forever, and I will always.
I appreciate those words, but if you really loved me, you wouldn't have told the police that I had Jeju with me. That's not what a friend does.
That's what your friend does.
I mean, that just makes me look weird, and it just
No,
it's not safe for me.
celebration.
That doesn't look good. I mean, you had to think of my welfare if you love me.
I do, and I did exactly what I felt the Lord was instructing me to do.
Phoebe.
And I appreciate you, and I love you. And I've never do anything to harm you. And you can have all of this confirmed to you by the Lord.
Y'all are weird.
I have. And my conscience is clear. I feel very understanding what's really going on, Lori. And I believe that you have been very deceived by Satan. I believe that he has tricked you. And I don't believe that what you're doing is correct. I just don't, I mean, Tammy dies, and then your husband died, and then he's missing. It just doesn't sound like God's plan to me. It just sounds, it gives me a gut feeling, like in my gut, it feels weird. It doesn't feel right. I don't have peace about it. I never have felt 100% peace about it. I always felt like a little weird in my stomach about all these things.
You know me, Mel. You know me. This does not sound like you. This sounds like you've been influenced by somebody dark who wants you to believe dark things and have fear of the celestial world.
I don't have fear.
You obviously do.
No, I have a peace of conscience and I can see
No, you
clearly.
don't.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I love you so much.
Gaslight much?
I know you do.
Awkward silence?
I don't know what else to say.
Stand Christ when he comes again, and he's coming soon, and we will all stand there, and you will know at that point that he has supported me and has supported me the whole time, and I have not been deceived.
I just want to testify that I know Tammy.
She had the diva.
Theories. My sister-in-law's right behind it all, and I hope that you're not being influenced by that dark team.
I don't know who she is. I'm sorry, you said your sister-in-law? I don't even know her.
Oh, I know, but she's coming up with the same type of theories. And it's just not true. My own children were there. They testified that Tammy had been getting weaker and sick, and I begged her to go to the doctor. Her heart was failing her. She was physically falling apart, and she hates doctors. And she just passed away.
I can't.
That's how it happened. My son Garth was right there with me the whole time. My kids were at the house within 20 minutes of her passing. There were 2 coroners. They checked her out right there on the bed. All these conspiracy theories just make me sick to my stomach.
I get it.
Just absolutely sick. I know it's been told for years that Tammy would pass away at a young age. And I had no idea that Lori would even be a part of my life. I just knew that my life had 2 segments. And I know Tammy's on a special mission, and she's with my kids. She's visited them. There's so much, Melanie, that you just have to have faith, and this is not some sort of master plan. There's no way Lori and I could ever come up with this. It's just...
You can understand my concern, correct?
I can from an outside perspective, but from
someone who knows as much as you know, no, not really. But we can feel Dave's influence on you. I can feel that for sure.
He's a very good man, and he has a very strong foundation, that I know.
I know, but he seems to be the one that's putting the doubts in your mind.
No, you know what? I have come to understand that my gut feeling, I was not listening to it. And I always felt uncomfortable with many things.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry that I included you in those teachings then for your own sake, because I wish that you didn't have as much knowledge as you have, because you will be accountable for the knowledge that you do have, no?
So are you.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I have no fear.
Yeah.
I have no fear of that.
But I really, as I was reading the story of Chloroform, and it is so very similar to this, you just can't see it, but he did it because he was trying to reclaim a people, and he thought at the very end, because of his carnal and natural desires, that's what influenced him. And he was very
carnal natural desires?
Well, honey, you got a lot of natural desires. We all know that.
That's what you think is me, Cora? Are you kidding me right now?
I think both of you have similarities. It's in the scriptures. It's in the scriptures. And the scriptures are very powerful.
Yes, they are. I live by the scriptures, as you know.
I know, but we can wrest the scriptures for our own vain glory.
I wrested the scriptures?
We can do that, and I feel that you have to see our belief systems.
Do I wrest the scriptures? Is that what you're accusing me of at this point?
I feel that you have.
How she gets more
Why
prepared
do
by
you
that.
feel that way? I need an explanation on this.
Because if you look, like the scripture just
Can you
shared, okay,
you
the
read
scriptures.
scriptures every single day? You know?
I know you read them. I know about that. But this scripture right here says that you will be supported by all against the fiery darts of the adversary. You would have been supported if you had not opened dark portals and dark junk. You would have been safe if you would have obeyed God. He would have had your back. But you have been chased and tortured.
Whether you do this or not,
I'm sorry?
he has your back. So,
well, if he has your back, you would not be able to tell me where you are, and we couldn't find JJ. Like, where is he? I've been asking, where is he?
She only asked one time.
You know what I mean? Like, that's
no.
I can tell everything where JJ is right now, and that would not be good for JJ. So I'm sorry that you don't want me to protect my children, but I would never ask you to not protect your children.
Of course you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell that you're just adversarial, Mel. I love you. I'm sorry that you feel this way.
Because I actually do care. I'm sharing what I feel for you because I know your salvation's in trouble for what you've done.
If my salvation is not in trouble at all, and I think you should check that with the Lord again.
Well, I felt a lot of things from the Lord, and this doesn't feel right.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, sweetheart.
Mm-mm-mm.
I'm sorry that you're friends with all those who are against me. Joseph Smith's friends turned against me.
I'm not a friend. I'm not friends with people that are against you.
Apparently you are.
I am not. I don't know Kay. I don't know who you're talking about. Your sister. I don't even know what her name or who she is. I don't know any of those people. Why would they contact me anyway? How would I even know about that?
Well, you're friends with Dave, and he's apparently suing now.
Well, David is a very righteous man, and I've always known that grounding about him. And he has a lot of beautiful experiences with the Lord, and these are not the same. You know, when you get the priesthood, that's Peter, James, and John shows up, and then he confirms all of those in the circle that are to get it, and everybody's a witness of that. Everybody's a witness that the pattern is in the scriptures. There's no witness that you ever receive what you think you received. Nobody has seen that but you. There's no witness. The witness, Joseph Smith, Oliver Cowdery, Martin Harris, the 8 witnesses, they all showed up.
Was there a witness when Jesus, Heavenly Father, gave that to Joseph Smith by himself in the grove? Was there a witness?
No, but they had it later with other people. That was one experience, but others joined in later. When he brought other people into it, they had experiences.
Scriptures, yes or no?
I'm sorry?
Is that in the scriptures, yes or no?
That Joseph was alone when he saw God the Father and Jesus Christ?
Yes.
Yes, he was alone.
He was alone.
But he had to open it up first.
That's not a pattern at all.
Honey, what I'm saying is that after he saw that and other people joined in, they saw the things with him. He wasn't alone. There was a witness for them. There was no witness. Anybody's never seen what you've seen or experienced what you've seen. That's your own witness, but nobody's had that.
No, God knows it, and I will never deny it. For my soul would be at stake if I did. So you can say it didn't happen to me, Mel, but if I say it, then I am accountable. You didn't witness it, but I did.
But your behaviors is not, okay, I understand that's what you believe you saw, but this is the thing, as I see, is that your behavior is not one of somebody that's in Christ. Your behavior. What?
Never had any idea that you would be the person of all people to turn me. I cannot believe
I am asking questions, and I am concerned for you. That is what somebody does when they care.
You don't sound like you're concerned. You sound like you're accusatory. You do not sound concerned. You sound pissed off.
I'm not. I am troubled. Maybe that's the better word. Troubled. Because these things, like you being with Chad before he's even divorced, is unusual behavior for a person that's seen Jesus Christ.
I was never with him, and he was never divorced.
Honey, I've seen you guys together. So I haven't ever seen you with, I've never seen you with Chad kiss him and walk around the track at BYU with him. I never saw that. You
Say
saying?
you're the one that's just feeling guilty about being with someone before they were divorced.
Oh, honey. I think that's not what we're talking about here.
Well, it's not what we're talking about here. That's what I'm saying. You are going off the deep end. But
Well, I'm just saying, this is not a behavior of someone that sees Jesus Christ. It's not the behavior.
really? Have you ever seen Jesus Christ? So do you know what the future behavior would be if you had seen Jesus Christ?
I know that when I pray.
Lord asks me to do every day, and he does protect me, and he is protecting me, and he will protect me against this accusation as well. And we will both stand there with him, and you tell me if I was lying or not, but we're both standing there with Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Piss Laura Whore off. She gets more pissed about being called a quarter whore, which is Antichrist,
The natural ending of that
versus
conversation?
accusing
sorry?
of murder.
Was that how that conversation ended?
The
Just
phone
saying.
cut off. I could have been because it was in a basement apartment.
TC.
Your Honor, the state has no further questions at this time.
Hey, Fancy Nancy.
Mr. Pryor, looks like we have about 10 minutes until 5 o'clock. Can you give me an idea of how long you foresee the cross-examination taking here?
Judge, I anticipate much more than 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Spoke with Mr. Wood, and we thought it was best if the court would oblige us and then forego the next 10 minutes and allow me to start my cross in the morning. If that's acceptable to the court, I would respect it.
Oh, we want your cross.
We will recess for the day. We'll reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Ms. Gibb, if you'll please come forward.
Oh, here we're back in session. Y'all want to keep going?
Ms. Gibb, with the new day, we'll swear you in here again.
I don't know if we should keep going or stop, because let me make sure my mic's open. Melanie gives 0 F's about those children, right? Yeah. But yeah, you say go, Donna? Okay. All right, we'll keep on trucking. Look at his eyes. Talk about side eye. I'm just scared.
Ms. Gibb, you can be seated there in that witness chair.
Her
You'll
pink
pull the
outfit.
microphone up to your chin and aim it at your chin again. Mr. Pryor, you may inquire on cross-examination when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Pryor, in looking at some of the recording last night, I noticed that the one audio that we couldn't hear very well was yours. So
They look
again,
like
if
they're
you don't
related.
mind making your microphone look like
Like
this,
this, with my bitty
it
hands.
will record it a lot better if
My
it's
little
pointed at
baby
your
hands.
chin. I know it looks weird. That's the way to do it.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
He needs a throat mic
I can.
implant.
And Ms. Gibbs, can you hear me as well?
Yes.
Okay.
God,
Ms. Gibbs,
these people are ridiculous.
Ms. Gibb, I apologize. When did you first meet Mr. Daybell?
About, I think 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, if I reflect, the information I have is that you were at a preparedness camp
We can't hear you,
in
dude.
July of 2017 in Ogden, Utah. Is that correct?
In Morgan, Utah. Yes,
It
that's
was
correct.
Morgan, Utah?
Mhm.
Is Morgan close to Ogden?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
mm,
And would you explain to me what a preparedness camp is?
It was a
Objection,
camp.
relevance.
oh Lord.
Mr. Pryor's been objection as to relevance.
Well, Judge, there was testimony that they met. I think I can inquire as to the nature of that relationship and what they were both there for, and I don't think it's necessarily irrelevant. There's a discussion. It's much like we went to a concert or we went to a play. It's the same thing. I think I'm allowed to inquire about that. I don't see that that's necessarily irrelevant.
I'll overrule the objection. You may continue with that question, Mr. Pryor.
And again, ma'am, before Mr. Wood injected his objection, there was a question about what is a preparedness camp?
I
It's a
remember.
camp where people get together, families and individuals, where they're learning about how to cook outside or how to filter water or different preparedness skills.
Preparedness for what?
For if there's times where you may not have those types of things readily available to you, that you could learn to do it if you didn't have electricity, things like that.
Okay, well, I noticed when I was listening to your tape, and obviously I've heard that before, there were some religious references on that tape between you and Miss Vallow. And I'm just curious as to whether this preparedness camp has any kind of a religious undertone as well.
Objection, relevance.
Overruled. I think there was a lot of religious undertones that were put forth yesterday. I'm going to allow Mr. Pryor to go down this road in a limited way here today. I'm going to allow that question.
And again, there was a religious undertone, and I don't want to go into complete detail about this, and it's not necessary. But I would like you to explain what is in your mind the religious nature of these preparedness camps.
Your client was one of those people that spoke at that, and he was
Okay, well, I
expressing
didn't
his
ask-
visions
Judge,
and dreams.
I'm going to move to strike. The question is what's the religious undertone? It's not what my client participated, ma'am. It's what is the undertone of this? So I'd like you to answer my question as opposed to pushing some blame on my client. So would you answer the question?
Objection, this is argumentative.
Hold up, we're going to take a timeout here. Mr. Pryor, I want you to ask the question. Ms. Gibb, I want you to answer the question that Mr. Pryor is asking you. I'm not going to tell you how to answer that question, but I want you to listen carefully to the question that he asks. Understand, after Mr. Pryor asks you these questions, Mr. Wood will get a chance to offer any redirect if he deems that's necessary, which can often provide clarification. But I want you to listen carefully to the question that's being asked of you and answer only that question. Mr. Pryor, you can ask the question again.
So I noticed you just took a look at Mr. Wood. Is there a reason why you just did that?
No.
I looked around.
Oh, you looked around?
Mhm. I didn't actually look at his face.
Okay. Just over in that direction. So why don't you tell me what the religious nature of this preparedness camp is, ma'am?
People sharing their spiritual experiences,
Okay.
scriptural based to personal dreams.
Does it have a specific religious affiliation in this religious preparedness camp?
People that belong to our church,
What church is that, ma'am?
the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
So you
That's a long
represent
name.
yourself as an LDS person, is that fair?
Correct.
Okay, all right. And the first opportunity for you to meet Mr. Daybell was in July of 2017. Did you have a face-to-face meeting with him?
Yes,
Okay, did you discuss anything in particular?
yes.
I'm sorry, Judge, I heard some voices in the corner and I
Might want to check that out.
And then, did you have any contact with him prior to the July 18th organization that you went to in Mesa, Arizona?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so you don't have any recollection of whether you spoke to him again between July of 2017 and July of 2018, is that correct?
I'm not sure. Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
And then you were at some sort of an organization in July of 2018, is that right?
I'm sorry, 2018?
In Mesa, Arizona.
I'm just checking my mind with my dates. I believe so.
Okay. Weirdo.
Is there anything that you have in terms of a medical condition that affects your ability to recollect anything, ma'am?
No,
That's out for
Is there any
debate.
condition such as an auditory disorder that you've been diagnosed with that affects your ability to understand and hear things?
no,
You've never been medically diagnosed with an auditory disorder?
no.
Just wondering.
At some point you met Lori Vallow, is that correct?
Correct.
And when was that?
October 2018.
Did you meet Chad Daybell at the same time?
No,
That was a different occasion. And where did you meet Miss Vallow, ma'am?
in Mesa, Arizona at a church building.
Okay, and what was the nature of the proceeding that you were at? Was it a preparedness camp again?
No, it was
Church's first one.
held by the church, inside the church, about preparedness type of
For the church.
classes that they asked me to speak on.
Okay, and this was the church that was supporting this preparedness situation was part of the LDS church, is that correct?
Yes, but these groups are separate.
I'm sorry, say that again?
These groups are not affiliated with each other.
Okay, but it was at an LDS
Yeah.
church and it was an LDS sponsored event, is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay, was Mr. Daybell there?
No,
Okay. And then on July of 18th, when you met him in Mesa, Arizona, when is the next time that you met him?
I met him, we saw each other in October 2018. Probably a week or two after I met Lori.
Okay. And that was in St. George?
Yes,
And what was the nature of that meeting? Where was that taking place at? In a church as well?
no, I think it was in an elementary school.
Okay.
Hmm.
And what was the nature of that meeting? What was
It was a variety of speakers.
Okay. And what was the topics?
We had some talking about science.
Okay.
We had some talking about Book of Mormon evidence.
Okay.
We had some talking about their dreams of visions.
Okay. And were you a speaker at that as well?
No,
There's a gentleman's name who came up, and it's Mr. Warwick. You mentioned him a couple of times
Yes.
yesterday. What's your relationship with Mr. Warwick?
Brown
he's
chick
my
brown.
boyfriend.
Okay. Are you two living together?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Do you know where Mr. Warwick lives?
Yes,
Where does he live?
he lives in Utah,
Where in Utah?
Pleasant Grove,
Okay. Where do you live, ma'am?
Gilbert, Arizona.
And that's your permanent address in Gilbert, Arizona?
Correct.
Obviously, even today.
And again, the October 26th at St. George, did that have religious overtones as well?
Yes,
And that was also somewhat sponsored by the LDS Church, is that correct?
not by the church, by individuals.
Okay. But the theme of that was consistent with what your religious faith is that correct?
Correct.
And are you telling me that on October 26th, Mr. Daybell was there as well?
Yes.
Okay.
If you could speak a little closer to your mic.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Right.
And Mr. Daybell, do you recall what his topic was at that time on October of 2018?
Yes, he talked about the different visions he had of what he saw was going to happen in the last days.
Is that something that interested you?
Yes,
Is that something that's inconsistent with your religious beliefs?
no,
Okay. So it's something that's consistent with your religious beliefs, is that correct?
yes.
Okay, all right. And then at some point, do you have a recollection when Mr. Daybell and Lori Vallow met?
Yes,
And you were present for that meeting, is that correct?
yes,
And was that in Arizona?
no. As you recall, I said St. George, Utah.
That was on the 26th of 2018 in St. George. That's correct. Okay. So you had known Miss Vallow at that point for how long?
A few weeks.
Okay. Did you form a friendship?
Yes,
Was it an immediate friendship?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
Would you describe, obviously, I heard some of your testimony on that tape, but from that time in October until, maybe the beginning of last year, you had a very close friendship. Would that be fair?
yes,
Sisters?
possibly.
Well, possibly, or were you that close?
We were close.
Okay. You shared a number of things.
Yes,
You shared your belief about having visions about things that may happen in the future, correct?
not my visions, not her visions.
Okay. But you're not in disbelief about having visions about things, are you?
I'm not in disbelief.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me how many times you spoke
Denial.
with the Gilbert Police Department?
Oh, multiple times, maybe 5 or 6.
Okay. Do you have a recollection of the first time you spoke with the Gilbert Police Department?
I believe it was December. I'm sorry, in person or on phone?
On the phone?
On phone. I believe it was December 7th or 8th.
Is it possible that in November, Officer Pillar left you a phone message to get back to him and call him?
In November. Yes,
Excuse me.
And then in November, you didn't call him back right away, is that correct?
correct.
And then at some point you did have contact with him. Did you initiate the contact or did Officer Gilbert initiate the contact?
Well, he first initiated it and then I secondly initiated it.
So you called him back?
Correct.
Sometime after he had called you, correct?
That's correct.
How much time passed between when he left the message and when you got back to him?
I would say within an hour, possibly.
Okay. And then at some point, there was a question regarding the whereabouts of JJ, is that right?
Correct.
And at that point, you had advised him that you had JJ in your care, correct?
I told him that I had him and then I didn't have him.
Okay. So the initial time that you told him that you had JJ, that was not a truthful statement to Officer Pillar, was it?
Correct.
And when you tell a statement that's not accurate to a police officer, that's a lie, is it not?
Correct.
So you lied to a police officer, is that correct?
Correct.
And then at some point, how long between the time when you told that lie to the police officer regarding the whereabouts of JJ Vallow, did you correct your lie? How much time passed?
Till I spoke to him on December 6th, I believe. I could be off a day or two.
So, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want an accurate reflection of the amount of time that we're talking about. The initial call from Officer Gilbert occurred sometime in late November. Would you have any reason to disagree with that, ma'am?
No.
And then the time when you decided to tell Officer Gilbert the truth, or at least what you think the truth is, was sometime in December, the 6th of December.
Correct.
So approximately 10 to 12 days passed from the time you told your first lie to when you decided to come up with a different story for Officer Gilbert later on, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at least at that point, we have 2 phone calls with Officer Gilbert, correct?
Correct.
Officer Gilbert, Officer Pillar, I'm sorry, I apologize. Officer Pillar, I can't get Gilbert, Arizona out of my mind. Officer Pillar.
Mhm.
When was the next time you spoke with Officer Pillar?
Maybe the next day. And
What was the purpose of that phone call?
we were just trying to make arrangements to get together.
To discuss the case?
Correct.
And where did you make arrangements to discuss the case?
In his office in Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay, and when did you have that office visit with him? Do you recall?
I know I have it written down. I cannot recall right now. It's on my phone though.
Was it a significant amount of time or was it a brief?
Well, I was in Utah at the time.
Where were
so
you,
he
where
was-
were
he-
you in Utah?
Hold up. So, Mr. Pryor, you're interrupting the witness before she can answer.
I
the question.
apologize, Your Honor.
I'm gonna do it again though.
Making, a record here, so it's crucial that nobody talk over each other. So, Mr. Pryor, I want you to make an effort here to let the witness finish the answer before you ask the next question. And Ms. Gibb, if you'll make sure he finishes the question before you start to answer.
Okay.
So the last thing I heard is that you were in Utah, and I did interrupt you. I apologize for that.
It's okay.
Where were you in Utah?
I was at David Warwick's home in Pleasant Grove, Utah.
How long had you been there?
A few days. I can't recall.
You can't recall.
The approximate date is when you were there?
I'm sorry.
The approximate date when you were there, ma'am?
I don't have those dates memorized right now.
Okay. But at some point, you then had an face-to-face conversation with Officer Pillar of the Gilbert Police
When I
Department.
arrived home from my trip to Utah, I immediately went there that day. I didn't even go home first.
Okay. And how long was the conversation with Officer Pillar?
I would say at least 2 hours.
Okay. Did he advise you whether or not that was a recorded conversation?
I believe he did.
He said it was a recorded conversation?
I believe so, but I can't exactly recall.
And then did you have another visit with him at a later time after that?
I did.
Okay, when was that, ma'am?
I can't recall the time, but it was probably a few weeks.
2 weeks later? Okay. And again, was that a recorded conversation was that a recorded conversation?
I don't know for sure, but it could have been.
Was it an in-person discussion?
Yes.
Who else was present for that meeting?
The second meeting, I believe it was just Officer Pryor, or Pillar, sorry.
And then at some point, were you interviewed by the Rexburg Police Department?
A little bit.
When you say a little bit, could you just tell me what that means?
I just had a brief conversation, and then he told me to just contact Gilbert Police to tell the whole story.
Did you have any other visits with the Gilbert Police Department after that, the last one you spoke of?
Yes.
Okay, when was the next one?
Oh, could have been like a month or two later. I can't recall.
And at any time, did you have a face-to-face meeting with anybody from the Rexburg Police Department?
Not until just a few months ago when they came down to speak to me.
Okay, and who came down to speak with you?
Detective Ball and Detective Hermosillo and Rob Woods.
Right. So at that point, do you recall what that date of that meeting was?
Oh God, she's thinking hard.
I believe it was in June,
Okay.
but I can't recall the date.
And again, that meeting, Officer Hermosillo was present.
Correct.
Did Officer Hermosillo say that he was recording that conversation?
I do not know.
Did you recall whether he told you that?
I can't recall.
Did Lieutenant Ball say he was recording the conversation?
I cannot recall.
Okay. Mr. Wood was present for a discussion with you in June as well, because he was present for that meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the topic of discussion was Lori Vallow?
It was everybody.
Okay. And everybody meaning Lori Vallow, correct?
Correct.
Chad Daybell,
Correct.
Alex Cox.
Correct.
Was there also a discussion about potential difficulties you might have as a result of lying to the Gilbert Police Department?
No.
There was never any reference or any offer of any deal to testify about anything and
Be honest.
forego going after you for lying to a police officer?
No.
And you've never been offered anything by anyone in regards to the fact that you lied about, or at least you
Objection asked and answered.
Mr. Pryor,
I judge it's a different question. It's a slightly different question.
I'll allow you to ask the question.
So again, Mr. Wood has never specifically offered you any deal to testify in any manner in this case. Is that correct?
Never.
Wow.
And when you came into town, when did you arrive in town this week?
Saturday.
Okay. Did you have a meeting with Mr. Wood prior to testifying today?
Yes.
Did he tell you what to say on the stand?
No.
Did he coach you in any way?
No.
Did he ask you to testify in a certain manner or wear a certain amount of clothes a certain way?
No.
He didn't tell you anything.
We talked about a lot of things.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get into. It wasn't the weather, was it, ma'am?
No.
It was about how and what you were going to say in this hearing today, correct?
He asked me questions and I gave him answers.
Do you know whether or not that recording, that conversation was recorded or not?
Well, hell
I
no.
have no idea.
So if what you're telling me is that when you arrived here on Saturday, you had a meeting with Mr. Wood. Who else was present for that meeting?
David Warwick
Jesus.
and two of the women he works with.
Okay, two of the women Mr. Warwick works with?
No, Rob Woods.
Okay, so his staff was there as well?
Correct.
Okay, was any law enforcement officer there?
Probably, yes. I saw Detective Hermosillo and some of the detectives, I didn't know their name and I didn't know their titles, but I know they told me, I just can't recall the people.
And when you say probably, the answer is there were other officers there, correct?
Yes,
And how many other officers, and you don't need to give me their names, but how many in number were in this place where you were being interviewed?
Fair
I cannot
question.
recall. There was several people going in and out. It was a busy kind of
And
a
where did this-
movement.
I'm sorry, and where did this interview take place?
In the Madison County Courthouse.
At the prosecutor's office?
Yes,
So if I understand this correctly, that you spoke to numerous law enforcement officers about your testimony. Mr. Wood and
Objection. He's misstating her testimony.
Mr. Pryor?
well, there've been at least 4 or 5 discussions with Officer Pillar. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Officer Pillar, how many times have you?
Your
spoken?
Honor, I misunderstood his question. Never mind.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my objection.
Mr. Pryor, please proceed.
You've had numerous discussions with law enforcement officers. Is that correct?
Yes, if you could speak a little closer to your mic.
Okay, I will.
Slap her.
Other than Officer Hermosillo and Officer Ball and Officer Pillar from the Gilbert Police Department, have you spoken to anybody with the FBI?
Yes,
And how many times did you speak with the FBI?
maybe 2 or 3 times.
When were those, ma'am?
Oh,
Excuse me.
sometime in 2020 and sometime in the beginning of the year. I cannot recall the dates.
All right, so sometime in 2020, that's a very broad range.
I know.
Are you having difficulty remembering when you spoke with an FBI agent?
Yes,
And is it your common practice to regularly speak with FBI agents? Is that why you can't remember that you spoke with one?
it
Objection
wasn't
compound
common.
I'm sorry.
and argumentative.
Sustained on the argumentative. Mr. Pryor, if you'll divide your questions so that we can get one answer per question.
You testified that sometime in 2020 you spoke with the FBI. Did you speak to him in August of 2020?
I can't recall.
All the
August?
days.
That
all
would
the
be
months.
this month.
That would be. So that's why I'm trying to wonder whether or not you can't recall because there's.
I didn't know. I didn't speak to anybody in August.
Okay, did you speak to anybody in July of 2020?
I don't think so.
June of 2020.
I'm sorry?
June of 2020, did you speak to the FBI?
Probably not, but I can't recall.
Okay. Did you speak to the FBI in May of 2020?
I can't recall.
Do you have any recollection of any month that you may have spoken to the FBI?
No,
Okay. So you don't remember even talking to them?
I remember talking to them.
You just don't know what month it was?
I want to be accurate, so I don't remember.
Okay. Okay. So in 2019, do you have a more distinct recollection of when you spoke with the FBI?
No,
Was it an uneventful discussion? Is that why you don't remember it?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Was it an uneventful discussion? Is that why you don't remember it?
I just can't recall the time because it didn't have any significance of it was on the phone, so I don't remember the date.
Oh, you've never had a face-to-face discussion with the FBI?
No,
It's always been on the phone?
correct.
Okay. Do you keep your phone records?
Mostly, yes.
Okay. And you have your phone records available for the last couple of years?
I don't think they date back that long.
Not now.
I want to switch gears a little bit if we may, and I'd like to talk about Alex Cox. How would you describe your relationship with Alex Cox?
Not even.
A friendly with each other.
How many times did you meet Alex Cox?
Multiple times, I cannot recall.
When is the first time you met Alex Cox?
Shortly after meeting Lori, between October and November 2018.
Okay. How would you describe the relationship based on the knowledge that you have of between Alex Cox and Lori Vallow?
I'm sorry, the relationship I
Yeah.
have or they have?
They have, the two of them.
Oh, those two together. They were good friends and siblings to each other. They got along really well.
So we
They were
heard.
very close with each other, were they not?
Yes,
Yeah, gotta love it.
In fact, isn't it true that when they moved from Arizona to Idaho, Alex moved as well? Isn't that true?
correct.
Melanie.
And in fact, he tried to get an apartment right next to Lori's. Isn't that correct?
I believe so.
Right. And he actually gave up a job so that he could be with Lori in Idaho. Is that correct?
I don't know if he gave it up.
Okay. Did he do that previously as well? In Texas or something like that? Do you have any recollection of that?
I don't know, but
I save all my everything. I never delete anything.
So when you described they have a close relationship, it was a little more than close. They were extremely close, weren't they?
Objection, speculative.
There's no speculation. It's a specific question.
Ms.
Were they
Gibb,
extremely close?
Ms. Gibb, I'm going to authorize the question to be answered if you know the answer to that question.
I would say yes.
Okay. Now you listened to the tape recording that you recorded. And that was in, what was that, November? Was that December of last year? Is that correct, that tape recording? The 21-minute record with
No,
Lori?
December 8th.
Okay. You remember the date?
I did.
Oh.
Were you prompted?
So
to
that just made me think about this. Mohawk Mom says that was Alex's name on the lease where Lori was living. Correct. And that's the confusion. That's another one of those things where they can technically say that the kids were murdered in, you know, how when Lori came out with her alibi and she said that the kids were murdered in Alex's apartment. And anyways, it's just the technicalities of it because in all actuality, the apartment was under Alex's name. It's just technical. It sucks. They suck. Okay, let me go back to it. Okay.
law enforcement?
We have this much to go. We're not
make that
we're
phone
not
call?
far.
Nope.
You did that on your own.
Yep.
And the questions you asked were questions that you planned ahead of time to ask Lori about what was going on, correct?
Correct.
And you planned this as a means of trying to gain some information to somehow either clarify things for you, correct?
Partially correct. I had many objectives in that, and that was
Okay.
one of them,
Okay.
to show my innocence.
Okay, and one of the other objectives, then we'll talk about that, is to impress upon the police that you did nothing wrong. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And you needed to prove to the police that you were innocent of
Somewhat.
no wrongdoing. Is that correct?
That wasn't my full objective.
But it was one of the objectives, wasn't it?
Yes.
Now, I took the liberty of listening to that tape a number of times, and I found something quite interesting, is that Lori Vallow said on the tape that she would not tell anything to Al. When she said she would not tell anything to Al, who's the Al she's talking about?
Her brother.
That would be Alex Cox.
Correct.
And she also talked about not telling you anything as well, correct?
Correct.
And you two were more than close friends. You were almost sisters with Lori Vallow, weren't you?
We were really close.
Well, were you almost sisters? Would you describe it as that close?
Possibly.
Okay. Is there a reason why you're not saying yes?
Well, it's just a big word to say you're sisters with somebody. I haven't known her for very long, so it's only
Right.
been a few months.
Yet they call each other sister.
But you knew her long enough to make that phone call to try to get her to help you clear your name, right?
Partially.
Okay. Now, would you describe Lori as someone who's a persuasive person?
Yes.
And she's got quite a dynamic personality, doesn't she?
Yes.
And she's very convincing, isn't she?
Yes.
And if she says that she would not discuss anything with any of her children or the whereabouts with anybody close to her, would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
And a red flag.
So she would, no matter who it is, she would probably refrain from giving out any information if it served her purpose. correct?
Objection, speculative. Calls for facts, not in evidence.
Sustained.
I'd like to talk a little bit and switch gears a little bit. You went down to, You came to Rexburg around the 19th of September, is that right?
I found the thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And part of your visit, you brought your boyfriend at the time, David Warwick, correct?
He met me there.
Okay, you guys met there.
Correct.
And then you were staying in and I've had an opportunity to go through all of the police reports and all the evidence, but you were staying in Lori Vallow's apartment, is that correct?
Correct.
And you and David were staying in Tylee's room, from what I understand the statements that were previously given, is that correct?
I was
Oh, where was David staying?
in JJ's room.
Okay.
What? Come on now. You're above 18.
Now, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but you had a poor relationship with Tylee, and isn't that correct?
I would say I had pretty much a no relationship with Tyler.
Right. She didn't care. Well, all right, I want to strike this because I don't want to misrepresent. Both of you weren't particularly fond of each other. Is that correct?
Objection
just
asked
did
and
not.
answered.
That hasn't been asked and answered, Judge.
Overruled. I'll allow the question.
You and Tylee were not particularly fond of each other. Is that correct?
I don't know how she felt about me, but I did not have a relationship with her. I would not say that.
Okay. Okay. But it's no surprise that she didn't necessarily want to be around you, did she?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
You could really care less whether you were around her as well. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Well, if it's not necessarily, does that mean yes, no, or you just don't want to answer?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
How would you describe your relationship with Tylee, other than none at all? Did you care to be around her or not?
Very
Objection
little.
asked and answered.
Okay. I'm fine,
Sustained.
Judge. I'm going to move on. How would you describe your relationship with JJ?
I tried to communicate, but he didn't reciprocate, so there was not a relationship.
Okay. He was autistic, obviously, right?
Correct.
And you're familiar with that as well. You share with Lori the job of caring for autistic children as well, do you not?
Objection
Correct.
relevance.
Repeat the question for me, Mr. Pryor.
You share the job and the obligation of caring for an autistic child as well, do you not, Ms. Gibb?
I'd also renew the objection on the grounds that it's beyond the scope of the direct.
I don't know how far you're going to go along this road, Mr. Pryor. I'll allow that one question. But as far as relevance goes, I agree. You're bordering on the relevant.
All right. You share that with Ms. Vallow, as you have an autistic child as well, do you not, ma'am?
Correct.
Okay. Now, that child was also interviewed by the police about the whereabouts of JJ Vallow. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Were you present for that?
No.
You chose not to be?
I was in Utah.
Okay.
He was in Gilbert.
So the Gilbert police approached him and interviewed him about, to your knowledge, about the whereabouts of JJ?
They asked him questions.
Okay. Do you have any recollection as to whether or not he cooperated with the officers?
He says he had a short visit with them.
Okay. And when did he say that short visit was?
Objection hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay. To your recollection, were you ever present when your son and JJ Vallow had a short visit? At the time period that he was talking about, ma'am?
They never had a visit during that period.
Okay. So that was not a truthful statement that your son made to the Gilbert Police
My
Department?
son did not
Objection
understand the
calls for
question.
hearsay.
It's not calling for hearsay, that's just asking whether or not she believes it was a truthful statement to the police department about her son saying she had a visit with JJ Vallow when it didn't happen.
Your Honor, he's just trying to sneak in a statement of someone who's not here in the courtroom. It's calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay, I'm going to move on, Judge.
Thank you.
You left on the 23rd of September, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And at that time, you didn't see Tylee at all, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, on the Sunday, the 22nd, did David and Chad go to deal with some real estate matters together?
I did as well. And
Oh.
so Alex was there too.
Oh, that was news to me. I wasn't aware you went as well. Where did you guys go?
We went to a lot that was close to Mr. Daybell's home.
And what time was that? Do you recall?
It was sometime in the afternoon. I don't recall exactly.
Okay, sometime meaning between 12 and 5 or 6?
I would say either late morning or early afternoon.
Okay. And the purpose of that was for what, ma'am?
Chad wanted to show this piece of land to David, and he encouraged him to consider building on that land.
Okay. It's your boyfriend. Is your boyfriend in the real estate business, ma'am?
General contractor.
General contractor.
Chad doesn't own a piece of property. We've all come through. I just realized that. Why would he be showing a piece of property he does not own? Anyways.
Okay. Was Lori Vallow present for that?
Mm-mm-mm.
No,
Why
Was
not?
Alex present for that?
yes.
I have a feeling they were up the road, 2.6 miles.
And what time did that end?
I don't recall.
Was it a long visit?
I would say an hour-ish.
Okay.
Why? Okay. Oh, so when you go to David's testimony, it was just there to see an invisible church, right? And David didn't do he didn't work on Sabbath day. He didn't work on Sundays. So bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. Sorry for the cussing, but it's bullshit. So, yeah. I don't understand why they would go there. Why Chad would be so interested in showing anybody a piece of property that he does not own. Then again, for David Warwick to trample all over that and say that, it was an invisible church. And then if Chad and Lori were there and they were gathering people, why did they go to Hawaii and stay there? Besides, I understand the police were chasing them, but they had already, I just don't see that as being, it's just not plausible to me. So I don't know. That's just my little thoughts right now.
Now on the night of the 22nd, Alex Cox was babysitting JJ. Is that what I recall from your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to go through a brief timeline, if I may.
Yeah, because I just got confused.
So you got back from a real estate event sometime late afternoon, something like that. Is that correct?
Something like that.
Then you and your boyfriend drove over to Lori's apartment?
After that meeting, yes.
Yeah. Did Alex go with you in the same car?
No, he had his own vehicle.
Everybody went their
Did
own
Alex go
vehicle.
over to Lori's apartment as well that day afterwards?
I don't recall when he did. He was in and out often.
He was, I'm sorry, what?
He was in and out. He would come in and out of the house, so I don't recall exactly when he arrived or exactly when he did. I don't remember.
He had an ability to just visit Lori. They were very close in that he would just come in when he felt like it. Is that fair to
Yeah.
say?
I would say that's fair.
Okay. All right. And so at some point on the 22nd, he was coming in and out, correct?
Yes.
You talked a little bit about Alex carrying JJ back into Lori's apartment.
Correct.
Mhm. But you don't
recall
remember.
when that was approximately?
As I shared yesterday, it was sometime between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight-ish,
Did Alex
Mm-mm.
stay in the apartment that night?
and not to my knowledge.
Well, how big of an apartment is this?
There are 3 bedrooms
Normal.
upstairs and none downstairs.
So with you in one bedroom and your boyfriend in the other bedroom and Lori in a bedroom, where was JJ?
Dead.
He had like a little bed in the corner of her room.
It was a
So that's
pallet.
where she would have him sleep.
Oh, okay.
And y'all were each in
Is that a permanent
each kid's
structure
room.
there, ma'am?
It was a bed in a corner.
Okay. And to your knowledge, was JJ there at night between 9 and 12?
To my knowledge, he was.
And Alex put him to bed, is that correct?
Oh, shit.
I just remember him coming in the house holding him, and then I turned back to the recording that I was doing that evening.
And what was the nature of the recording then?
We
Nothing.
were recording a
Alibi.
podcast with Lori present, and we were interviewing David, and he was sharing a lot of his personal spiritual experiences. And
This is where they gloat,
scripture.
in my opinion.
Okay, and that's the LDS religion?
Correct.
So Lori was actively involved as well in the LDS religion at that time during that meeting as well, correct?
Correct.
Interesting
She
question.
shared the same beliefs that you share in terms of the religion, is that correct?
Correct.
And Chad shared the same religious beliefs as part of the LDS church as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So all of you, David, yourself, Lori, and Chad all share the same and are consistent with your LDS beliefs. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And she said yes.
You got up in the morning on the 23rd?
Sometime.
You recall about what time, ma'am?
I don't.
Okay. But you do recall that JJ wasn't there.
Correct.
Well, if you didn't know he slept there when you were doing your podcast, how did you know he was there?
These are
Wasn't
all
there-
As I
reasonable.
said, I don't recall seeing him. I never recall seeing him.
Oh, so he may have been there.
I didn't see him.
Okay, but he may
Did
have
you
been
look
there
for
or he
him?
may not have been there. Would that be a fair statement?
Sure.
Well, I don't need sure. Is that a fair statement or is it an unfair statement?
It could be fair.
Okay, thank you. Did Lori rely on Alex for babysitting?
Entirely.
Sometimes. I don't believe all the time. I wouldn't know all her babysitting moments.
And up until the time that Lori moved here around September 1st, Mr. Daybell wasn't a regular visitor with Lori Daybell prior to September 1st. Would that be fair?
Calls for facts outside of evidence.
Will you please repeat the question, Mr. Pryor?
Would it be fair to say that Mr. Daybell was not a regular visitor with Lori Vallow until she moved here on September 1st? Would that be fair?
Would it be fair that who is not a regular visitor?
Would it be fair that Mr. Daybell was not a regular visitor with Miss Vallow?
How would she
until
know?
after
She's been there a
moved
week.
here- Until after she moved here on September 1st, ma'am.
Mr. Wood, your objection
I'll
is
withdraw the objection.
okay. Ms. Gibb, if you know the answer to that question, you can answer it.
I know according to knowledge from what Lori shared that they visited often.
Oh, they did. Was that prior to September 1st?
Yes.
Oh, so he would go to where was Lori living?
She lived multiple places.
Well, let's talk about that. Where was she living prior to September 1st?
She was living in
She
Chandler.
was pillow to post. That's not moving.
Okay, did she move somewhere else prior to Chandler?
Yes.
Where she lived?
She lived in Texas. I'm sorry. Yes, Texas.
Do you have a recollection of when she lived in Texas?
I'm not sure exactly the months, but I want to say somewhere between April or May or
Of what year, ma'am?
something, or June of 2019, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, 2019.
And about how long did she live in Texas then?
It seemed that it was around 2 months.
so.
It could have been a little bit more, a little bit less.
Not that I know of.
And then she moved to Chandler, Arizona, is that correct?
Correct.
Did she live any place after Chandler before she came to Rexburg?
I don't think so.
Well,
No,
you said multiple places. That's what I'm trying to get at. Was it just 2 places?
no. So she lived with Alex Cox for a period of time.
Oh, when did she live with Alex?
So
I agree.
the beginning of 2019, after she left Charles, and she also lived in Hawaii for a period of time. So,
Right. Was she in Hawaii? And I'm not talking about the time that she was with Chad. Was she in Hawaii with Alex as well?
I don't think he was there. I don't know for sure.
It's possible he was in Hawaii as well.
I don't recall
Good
it.
statement.
He had a habit of kind of following her, didn't he?
I don't know, following, but they were around each other a lot. And then she went to his house to.
Look
sit
at him. He
with,
looks
so
resentful.
Over there.
So they were pretty strongly bonded with each other, weren't they?
Yes.
Mm,
I'm
mhm. Lived in Hawaii,
I'm
avoiding
here with
Charles.
today,
Yeah.
and I apologize for my ignorance. Talk to me a little bit about, I think you said King Noah. Was it King Noah? Is that what you mentioned on the tape?
Look at
You were
him.
talking to Lori Vallow?
Like, look at her.
Okay. And the date of that conversation with Lori was when, December 8th again?
Yes.
And I missed, I was having some difficulty kind of gathering what the reference to King Noah was.
'Cause it's
about. Tell me
difficult.
about that.
She brought the reference up to the fact that a prophet named Alma, and she asked me about Alma. And so I explained to her, the people that were surrounded with that occurrence of Alma's
What's the
experience.
occurrence of Alma?
Mr. Pryor, you keep interrupting the witness, so it's extremely difficult for me to hear the last few words of her answer before you answer. So if you'll
Okay.
please allow her to finish before you interrupt.
Again, Your Honor, I apologize.
No problem.
So ma'am, I'm sorry, and I'll try to do better. I'm just intrigued by this. And obviously, please excuse my ignorance. Tell me a little bit about Alma.
He looks like he
Alma
wants to
was a
laugh.
prophet,
Sorry.
but before he became that prophet, he was in a court as a high priest to a king called King Noah. But this King Noah was a very unrighteous king.
Okay.
And so Alma,
Mm.
being
You'd be
one
surprised.
of the judges or high priests that were listening to another prophet call them to repentance, named Abinadi, he started to feel that the actions of King Noah were evil, and he broke away from this group, and then he left.
Okay. And I got the sense that there was some sort of adultery undertone there. Am I misunderstanding that?
Yeah, King Noah and his group of people tend to be breaking the commandments, and he became an unrighteous prophet.
Okay, so adultery is obviously that's
Your
something.
Honor, objection relevance.
Mr. Pryor, do you want to respond to that?
Well, Judge, there was some reference to Ms. Vallow's behavior and some reference to King Noah and Angel Maroney or something like that. And I think, quite honestly, I ought to be able to inquire if the tape was played. It was presented as evidence. I think I at least ought to inquire what that reference and what she was referring to. So that's what I'm trying to get at is get an explanation.
I think it was
of what
by
that
accident.
reference was, because I am terribly confused about what they were talking about.
Objection overruled. I'll allow the questioning.
Okay.
Unless
So
there's
is
children involved.
adultery part of this, the dynamic of this issue with King Noah and the such?
It was multiple things that King Noah. I said riotous living.
Okay, what do you
and
mean by
other
right?
things.
Gotta stop. I'm sorry, Judge. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know everything that they were doing in the scriptural reference, other than they noted it,
Allegedly.
whatever that meant in their day.
So in multiple things, adultery obviously was one of those, correct?
It was one of those.
Okay. And in the scripture that you're referring to, is there a biblical source of that information and that story that you're telling me?
Which scripture reference are you referring to?
The one about King Noah that you were discussing with Lori Vallow. What is the source? What is there a book or a document that story is told in?
Oh, it's in the Book of Mormon.
It's in the Book of Mormon. Okay.
Correct.
So your reference with Lori, obviously she understands that because she was actively and still participating in the LDS religion.
Correct.
And Mr. Daybell was actively participating in the LDS religion, correct?
That I know of.
Okay. And you are actively participating in the LDS religion.
Correct.
So all of you understood the references that you were
Yes.
talking about. That's what I was trying to get at. And thank you, ma'am, for explaining that. I didn't understand. Okay. And please excuse my ignorance. Oh, um, oh, I think I asked you about the podcast and what the subject was. It was a religious subject, was it not?
Yes.
Oh, I did. And thank you. Um,
He's a
Mr.
good
Daybell
assistant.
was a author, is that correct?
Is he an author?
Yes.
Correct.
Not a good
He
one.
writes Fiction, is that correct?
I haven't read all his
Objection
books.
is beyond the scope, relevant.
Mr. Pryor?
Well, Judge, I think what she did is talk an awful lot about Mr. Daybell and her knowledge of Mr. Daybell. And I think quite honestly, if you know, I'm using this as a way of trying to find out exactly how familiar she is with Mr. Daybell. She made a number of statements, and quite honestly, I think I ought to be able to inquire about, how much does she know about Mr. Daybell? I think that's perfectly relevant.
Mr. Wood?
Exactly.
Failed to see how it's relevant at all, Your Honor. This is turning into a fishing expedition. Preliminary hearing is not for the defense to engage in discovery. He's limited in what he's supposed to ask to what was presented on direct.
I agree with Mr. Wood. However, I think that there is some inquiry that can be made here. The question was about an author and what the substance of the books were, what genre they were. So I'll allow the questioning. You can continue to make your objection, Mr. Wood, if you'd like, if you feel it's going too far.
You haven't read all of his books, but the nature of it is that he's a fiction writer. Is that fair?
Fair.
Okay, and you're I don't want to say fiance, you're not engaged to Mr. Warwick, is that correct?
Correct.
He was going through a divorce too.
Mr. Warwick is a writer as well?
No.
Oh, I was under the impression he was an author as well. He wrote some things. Is that incorrect?
And correct.
Mhm. Chad, we hate your books.
Judge, I have nothing further. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Gibb. I appreciate your patience with me.
Mr. Wood, any redirect?
Your Honor, the state would ask for a 5-minute recess.
Hallelujah.
Mr. Wood, do you wish to have redirect of the witness, Ms. Gibb?
Yes, just briefly, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Ms. Gibb, you testified that you were there when Chad and Lori met, correct?
Correct.
Now, Lori had told you, is it true that Lori had told you she had read Chad Daybell's books
Yes.
before they met?
Yes.
Like two.
And you recently testified that Lori and Chad met up several times, correct?
Correct.
And Lori told you about these visits, correct?
Yes.
And they were infatuated with each other, weren't they?
Yes.
And Mr. Pryor asked you about your LDS beliefs,
Yes.
questioned you quite rigorously about it.
Uh.
And you
I don't know about that.
you're a member of the LDS faith. And
Yes.
and you testified that Chad, to your knowledge, is a member of the LDS faith, correct?
Correct.
And Lori was a member of the LDS faith, correct?
Correct.
And that you had some level of bonding over the LDS faith, correct?
Yes.
Some. I don't agree.
Did Lori believe things that you didn't believe?
Yes.
Who taught her those things?
She was taught through Chad
And how do you know that?
because she didn't seem to have knowledge of the things she shared with me until she met him.
Okay. And did she ever tell you that Chad taught her things?
Yes.
The weekend of the 19th to the 23rd of September 2019. You testified earlier, didn't you, that Chad Daybell was at Lori Vallow's residence several times?
Yes.
No further questions.
Ms. Gibb, you may be excused from the witness stand.
Yeah, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Melanie Gibb. Holy crap. Let me make sure my mic is on. Yes, okay. So I had found this on Quora, which is another forum, like Reddit, okay? And so this is that whole, um, hold on, let me fix myself here. Ah. I'll never get used to this. All the trials will be over by the time I get the hang of it. Straight up. Okay. So this is that whole story of Nephi and Laban. Oh my God, I gotta clear my throat again. Okay. And so this kind of goes into the justification, okay, the legal justification for Nephi's actions. It says, so interestingly enough, there was a contemporary legal justification for Nephi's actions, and his description of what happened is, in part, a legal defense. Illegal, not illegal. Well, it could be illegal. That's up for debate. Exodus 21:12-14 reads, 12, he that smiteth a man so that he die shall be surely put to death. Number 13, it says, and if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. 14, but if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die. The law provided an option for God to direct someone to kill someone else. Nephi is explicit that he did not lie in wait for Laban. God delivered Laban into his hands, and God directed him to kill Laban. So it was, quote, okay under existing law for Nephi to kill Laban. Now had Now, had Nephi been captured, the courts might have seen it differently. But if you, let me do this. But if you, what? But if you believe Nephi's version, it was okay. Then he edited it on 9/4/23, and he says, I realized I really didn't complete the answer. Here's Nephi's defense, 1 Nephi 4:10. And it came to pass that I was constrained by the Spirit that I should kill Laban. But I said in my heart, never at any time have I shed the blood of a man. And I shrunk and would that I might not slay him. I don't understand all this stuff. I'm like, what? It's too many thou and shouldn't and wouldn't. And anyways, may 11. And the Spirit said unto me again, right? Behold, the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Yea, and I also knew that he had sought to take away my own life. Yea, and he would not hearken unto the commandments of the Lord. And he also had taken away our property. 12. And it came to pass that the Spirit said unto me again, slay him, for the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Nephi makes clear he didn't lie in wait. Okay, I'm thinking of Lori right now and Alex. They lied in wait. they waited, in my opinion, for Charles, right? Okay. Okay, Nephi makes clear he didn't lie in wait. God delivered him into his hand, and God directed him to kill Laban. Note, I took Book of Mormon from Hugh Nibley while at BYU. Oh, okay. Long time ago. But I think I remember him mentioning that he once had some students from the Middle East in his class. They were frankly surprised that Nephi showed as much restraint as he did. Oh my God, that tells you something. Again, long time ago, just going off memory, and I may be misremembering. Anyways, so there's just like different answers and stuff like that that I had ran across one day. I forget what I was looking for, but I'm trying to get back over there. Okay. Now Donna had shared with me earlier about Tim Ballard and the documentary. And I think in our private chat back here, she said last dispensation. So I don't know. But anyways, this is a long life. So we'll go ahead and just cut it here. I don't know. It would be interesting to see if Timmy is doing a damn documentary, and that would be just about right. But anyway, so what do y'all think about this today? Thank you. No, nope. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. Thank you. I was just putting stuff together, while we were listening to that. I don't know. I personally think that Melanie knows way more than she is letting on. Anything they can do to distance themselves from this case and the victims and the murderers or alleged murderers, then the better off they are in their minds. That's what I think. And none of this was forthcoming. Everything had to be drawn out by pressure and or pretty much pressure. The heat was on, right? And I think that um I think that's crappy, you know? I really hey little brands, I need to give you a wrench. But that is a good that when you brought that up earlier, CD, about are there oh yeah. Oh God, thank you. About is there any doctors, dentists, or whatever in the mix? It's interesting because like how would they obtain drugs, you know? Because there was GHB, a small trace of it in JJ's autopsy. So let me do this again so I can share my screen and show y'all that Firm Foundation thing with if I can. Facebook, yeah. Well, okay, there it is. I'm like, why is it not giving me the option? But let's see, right there in the okay. So this is the one of the flyers from the Firm Foundation, September 12th, 2019. 3 conferences in September 2019. Boy, they were busy, huh? The first one is Kalispell, Montana, Friday and Saturday, September 13th and 14th. Rexburg, Idaho, Saturday, September 21st. Rexburg, not what she said, Pocatello. Anyways, 3, Provo, Utah, Friday and Saturday, September 27th through 28th. And then this gives you like this link right here gives you all the speaker names and stuff like that. I meant to copy that. Copy. Okay. I'll put that in the chat real quick. Paste. And oh God, it's long. It's a long link. Hopefully it went through. Okay. And then this one right here. This was, again, this reminds me of the flyer that Jason Mao did. That was real simple. It was super simple. There were mistakes and I don't know. I'm just going to give you my honest opinion. I feel like this is just me speculating kind of with a lot of my gut instinct here is that the people named on this would be the people that I would say would possibly be involved. And let's say if it wasn't just Chad and Lori and whatever offing them in a sacrificial ceremony, okay? I just don't think it's just 2 people or even 1 or 2 or 3. No, I don't think so. I think this served dual purposes. This was religious and it was, possibly this is how I think of it. It was like the condition on which they were to be exalted. If they were to sacrifice the children, then it would solidify their spot in heaven or in the celestial kingdom, the champagne room of the heavens, okay? That's just me. I know. Anyways, I don't know why they would do it. I'm just saying that's my take on it. And so here it says Rexburg, Idaho event and program. And this is from Universal Model. This is Dean Sessions. This is his gig. But they all go hand in hand. Just know that. So morning session, Mike James, welcome. Nancy James, introduction of speakers. Opening prayer and introductory videos. Book of Mormon evidence and Universal Model of Science. Then there's Jacob Householder, Universal Flood evidences. And I mean, whatever. Dean Sessions, A Marvelous Work and Wonder. Russ Barlow, The Tokens of the Bow, God's Covenant with Enoch, 12:30 to 1:30, lunch break. 1:30, Rod Meldrum, DNA and Dating Dinosaurs. Okay. 3:15, Break, Booths and Snacks. 3:30, Dean Sessions, Our Latter-day Saints Creationist. Russ Barlow, From the First World to the New World. Dinner. Oh, I bet. Rod Meldrum, Book of Mormon, current as the Daily News. Closing prayer. I don't know who this kid is. He looks young. And it says Rexburg, Idaho, September 21st. The Rexburg, Idaho Heartland and Universal Model event will include the following speakers. Here's your roll call. Dean Sessions, Russ Barlow, Rod Meldrum, and Jacob Householder. This all-day event will be held at 575 West 7th Street South, Rexburg, Idaho, 83440 at the Madison Middle School, September 21st from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. This is our first time to have a UM event in Rexburg. Oh, okay. Thank you. Anyways. And we are excited to meet our Idaho UMers, Universal Model. Okay, topics discussed will include the universal flood evidences, fountains of the great deep, a marvelous work and wonder, the universal model, the token of the bow, God's covenant with the Enoch, DNA, and dating dinosaurs. I just read all that. Our Latter-day Saints creationists, From the First World to the New World, Book of Mormon, current as the Daily News. This will be a full day of learning about new evidences of the Book of Mormon and the creation process. Staff will be on hand to help with any educational products or questions you may have for the new school year. Why would you have questions about a new school year? Are there students there? Are there teachers there? What the hell? Tickets are available here where you can learn more about the event and find that students and families get discounts. Okay. Students and families. Students of what? BYU? September 21st, 2019. Okay. So what? Let me see. That don't sound right. Let me pull up my calendar real quick. And get to that date. Or that year. It's been a long time now, y'all. I'm going to go way back. September 21st was a Saturday. September 22nd, a Sunday. September 23rd, a Monday. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It stinks. Let's go to this one. Allegedly. And so this is the one in Utah? Yeah. The one they just promoted. September 27th, 2019, September 28th, 2019. I like looking in the crowd, right? It would be interesting. Provo, Utah, September 27th through 28th. The Provo, Utah upcoming 2-day 24th International Book of Mormon Evidence Conference will be held on Friday and Saturday, September 27th through 28th at a new venue. They always go there. The Utah Valley Conference Center. Always. Whenever it was the Hebraeus Foundation or whatever with Tom Harrison. Tom Harrison was a speaker also for Preparing a People. Know that in 2016. That far back. Okay. Located at 220 West Center Street, Provo, Utah, 84601. Several thousand conference attendees are expected. There will be more than a dozen speakers on a variety of topics surrounding the Book of Mormon. Dean Sessions will be speaking on the universal model science of the Book of Mormon, and there will be a booth set up with products and staff to answer any questions you might have about our new volume 2. So many questions. The living system that has been completed and is in the final editing and printing stage. We are excited to meet new UMers and discuss the future of the universal model. What's interesting is why do they have like 3 different things or, events or whatever at the same time? That's evasive to me. That's like, So it's not just one. And they have them twice a year, April and September, October, depending on. They have them at the same time, simultaneously with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints when they have their conferences. So I just find this interesting. I just do. um, and so to me, you will always end up with this just goes hand in hand. Looking for it real quick. Hopefully I don't get I'm going to use it.
We invite each one of you who may wish to participate to stand and join with us in the Hosanna shout.
You know, just to seal the
This
deal.
sacred salute to the Father and the Son is given at the dedication of each of the temples. I will now demonstrate the shout. Each one takes a clean white handkerchief, holding it by one corner, and waves it while saying in unison, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to God and the Lamb.
No.
Repeated 3 times, followed by Amen, Amen, and Amen.
It's just, I don't feel good about it at all. At all, at all, at all. But anyway, so it's, I usually hold a lot back, because I just don't try to piss too many people off or whatever, and, or be labeled or whatever, it needs to be talked about though. And I know, I've learned, unfortunately the hard way. Okay. And it really sucks. These things happen. And until we actually can accept the fact that these things happen, that children all around the world, all across the United States, as far, as Americans, that's what happens here in our United States of America. And children grow up, they turn up missing all the time, never to be found. There's all these wacky stories, these outlandish, over the top stories about cults, cult, right? I don't know. I'm saying there's a lot of people who don't even, they think that like Tyler and JJ, that's somebody saying that's a conspiracy theory. I'm offended by that. I'm just saying these things happen, and ritual murder is real, and it's been around since the beginning of time. So I'm right. No, nope. I know, but it sucks. It sucks because it's been a long time for me to even come to terms with these things, that they do exist, and realize how big on a massive scale these really are. And how I wonder how many people, and I'm not saying this about Chad or Lori, when you think about and you research individual cases, kind of tooting or touting the same things, then you're like, well, how many people are in jail, in prison? Oh, here goes my lips again. Thank you, Teresa. That's very nice. Thank you. Since Babylon, right? Yes. So how about that Bohemian place? Did you see this? There's this guy, I don't even know who he was. It just popped up in my algorithm, and he broke in, or he didn't break in. He infiltrated. That's what he said. The Bohemian Grove. I was like, oh my God. Anyways, I'll try and find that and share that with y'all soon. Maybe on the community wall. But I was like, holy shit. But thank you so much. So I forget where I was going. Forget where I was going with that. But these things happen. And a lot of people are in, either they've never had, they're unaware of it, it's just kind of not, and it wasn't a part of my concerns, before this happened. However, it has become part of my concern. And so to me, these things happen. They say that there's these cults. I wonder how many innocent people are pinned in, this is pinned on, and they're in prison for the rest of their lives, and or they unalive themselves, or da 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 da. It just it's a tragedy all the way around, and you just kind of want to know who's behind these things and why. Why are they doing this? Oh, I've been trying. It's weird. It's weird to talk about. You don't know. I didn't know how to even approach it. Nobody, like you said, nobody else is talking about this. How or how is nobody else talking about this? That's alarming to me. And so there you go. I just answered my own question. It's so deep. It's very deep and it's personal. And it's just, I understand Chad and Lori. I do believe that they deserve to be where they put themselves. And so at any time, both could have said no, but they did not. And we've all seen how they have conducted themselves along with all the people surrounding them. They've all conducted themselves like some damn idiots. And again, it's very like-minded of other people who are kind of doing the same kind of things, And it's sad because what is justice then? What is justice? Because yeah, okay. What is justice? I understand it's different for everybody, but really, if these things can happen, so many people take part in these ceremonies. It is a secret society that, again, this goes with the pattern. This goes with the behavior that I see it in Tim Ballard, OUR, and affiliates. I see it in Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie, David Hamblin, Levitt, Gordon Bowen. I see it in Chad and Lori, all the people around them. So when I say that the church uses secret societies and the Gadiant robbers to, it's a fear tactic, oh, watch out for them. Watch out for those damn Gadiant robbers, damn Gadiant robbers. Satan wasn't enough, so they got to scapegoat something else. But really, what they are projecting is what they are doing. That's my opinion. Whatever. So, yeah. And Mohawk Mom says now the taxpayers are footing the bills to house them, feed them, and clothe them. Sorry, but the graveyard is cheaper. Right. Ken Krogh, Sean Reyes, Kanye West. Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. And Shalom Levitt, she was Eastwood. Okay. So there's and the Salem Institute, and I still don't even know what that is, but I gotta go look into it. There's so many things, so many things. And yes, projection is rampant. Whatever they are. So let's take Tim Ballard. Tim Ballard is like, you are a pedophile if you are against me. You're either for me or you are against me. That's black and white. You're here or there. You can't be, there's no gray area whatsoever. I used to say I was a black and white thinker until I really learned what the hell that was. So I was ignorant. How about that? Yeah, Kanye. They need to limit appeals. Yeah. Shamans. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Thank you. Sean Little Bear. That's that factor. Sean Little Bear was up the street from Chad Daybell's at his friend Kevin and Charlene, I want to say her name is Campbell, where they erected, right, a sweat lodge. Okay. And I have screenshots. One day I want to share them. It goes so long. But there's, I'll read them. I'll read them. We're going to read them. I'm tired of putting it off. This is something I always go back to. I can't get away from it. And because it leads me right back to where I started. And you don't just say these things and it just be religious talk. There's code, it's talk, but it's using the scriptures of Mormonism as a cover. Okay. Let's see. Mhm. All right. Sean explained that Sean is Sean Little Bear. Sean explained that we have an aura or shield of light. Okay. Hold on, I'm trying to get to that date. Showing all photos. There we go. Okay, good. That was the easy way to find it. Use that search bar in your phone and you will find things a lot easier. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me just start here. Hector Sosa Jr. was born in Puerto Rico. He began having visions of future events as a young boy, a gift he inherited from his mother. At age 13, he and his family joined the LDS Church, and the visions he had been receiving began to make sense as he learned more about the prophecies and doctrines taught by church leaders. Among the events he has foreseen are earthquakes in Utah, a national financial collapse, plagues and sicknesses, concentration camps on U.S. soil. Sounds like Nazi, right? If it sounds like a Nazi talks like a Nazi, it's a Nazi. There you go. An invasion from foreign troops. The saints prevail against the enemy. This is the same stuff that David Warwick's. They don't claim it; they just are. I think that's my understanding. They're not claiming to be Satanists; they just are. I don't know. That's true. That's good advice. The point is be vigilant and know what/who you are supporting, right? Hector's visions are specifically meant to serve as warnings to his own family, but he hopes that by sharing what he has seen, it will help others prepare for the challenging times that will soon come upon the world. Again, here you go with the second coming knowledge from all these people. The consensus for me is that they are part of this, and I'm going to sound so crazy, but it needs to be said. You're in line to, oh my God. Jojo says, I'm in line to get chicken. Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. I'm sorry. But what I'm, my vibe or the vibe I'm catching on this is that they are, oh God, again, and I've said it before, it just sounds crazy. New World Order. They are trying to usher in this new regime, if you will, and they're part of it. That's what they do. Tim Ballard is a damn Knights of the Templar, okay, along with Paul Hutchinson, along with I can't ever say his name, something Veristigi, whatever. I mean, they know people. They rub elbows with the president of Mexico. They rub elbows with over there in England. They rub elbows with um the uh top people from Haiti over there. And I mean, come on, y'all. This is so big. And it just anyways. That's what I think. The second coming. And again, I was just thinking about accelerationism. I've never heard that word before. Oh, well, good. I'm glad to see y'all say that. Or I just feel like it's crazy. Oh, Ukraine. Yes, yes. Oh my God, Ukraine. Mm. So I'm just kind of reading screenshots that are out of whack. The thing about this is this group is centered around an ideology more than one person. So there's no Davidic servant. There's no one mighty and strong. There's no one cult leader. So expand the horizons for anybody who just thinks this is Chad and Lori Daybell's cult. It's not. It is a cult within a cult. And anyways, we had one person say to us that this is a Hydra cult. There's many heads on this beast, and when you cut off one head, two more pop up in its place. Yes, I completely agree with this sentiment. The ideology of this group has formed over time thanks to additions of each new head that has popped up on this Hydra. The oldest idea I know of is the idea of the call out. To me, it could be the call out could very well be. I don't think the call out is anybody from this church going to say, hey, saints, hey, all righteous saints, everybody that's tithe paying and yada, yada, yada. We're going to send some trucks and pick up all your food. They are multi-billionaire, almost $1 trillion church. Okay. They don't give two shits about your food, your tents, your stuff, in my opinion. Another thing I thought about the call out could be was the invitation, so to speak, to participate in this exaltation ceremony, which is spiritual wifery, which is modern day polygamy. Yes, they had to denounce it in 1890 in order to become a statehood. However, double speak, that's all they do. So again, I think that Lori and Chad's marriages were arranged. I don't think that she met him through his books. Because that just sounds absurd to me. It does. She might have been all about his books, but okay. Thank you, Andrea. White nationalists want so they can gain power during times of upheaval. Sounds right. Sounds like it checks out. Thank you. Tylee couldn't be tested, I believe. Too much destruction. Yes. Tax the churches. Take those 501c3. Oh, I mean, it works for them, doesn't it? Anyways, and that's what they do. They exploit everything good. Everything. Okay, the oldest idea I know of surrounding is the call out. Okay, a man named Roger K. Young started a pay for forum called AVOW. It's now owned by a man named Christopher Perrett, where people could share their dreams and visions and discuss all things call out and preparedness related. Believers of the call out believe that before the tribulation period in the book of Mormon, the book of Revelation happens, a righteous group of members will be asked to leave their homes and life behind. Sounds a lot like a single mom now because her kids are murdered. So, anyways, okay, so a righteous group of members will be asked to leave their homes and life behind and travel to special mountain camps, which, I mean, that was part of this whole translation. They had to go visit different temples to receive, get the translation process, okay? Set up by LDS Church. Well, there you go. I'm sorry. Can't read. Asked to leave their homes and life behind and travel to special mountain camps set up by the LDS Church through the mountains of the Intermountain West. There are variations of exactly how this will happen, but most talked about it happening during a special Sunday. That's second anointing day. But we didn't get that from the church records. The church, whenever the FBI got the records for Chad and Lori's temple visits, we got November 16th for whenever they were sealed. I know we got more than that, but anyways, so November 16th, 2018 was a Friday. I don't think the church would willingly ever give up November 18th, which I think is the day that they were actually sealed on, because they're closed. And so anybody that would ever come along that, any believing member would just be like, no, that's not right. Call out sounds similar to Mormon white horse prophecy. Yeah, that's all one and of the same. Definitely. And I think that's why they're all into this. They're all touting this stuff. They've exploited the scriptures. They've exploited everything. Okay. All right. Okay, on a Sunday meeting at church. At church. Only those who met the requirements are invited to attend. Mhm. Chad was he was actively serving a calling as a ward clerk at that time. Okay. The requirements vary from being a totally active member of the church to having a temple recommend. Worth murdering over, right? To having a year's supply of food storage and other supplies, including a nice tent. They claim those that attend this meeting will be given special instruction via a broadcast to all the churches from the prophet. They will be given the rest of the day to gather their preps, which would be picked up the next day in large semis and hauled to the camps, as the members get on special buses to take them to these camps. Chad Daybell is a big believer of the call out and wrote a series of Last Days fan fiction novels about it. The belief surrounding a call out does not come from LDS doctrines, but instead comes from visions people have claimed to have had. One of the biggest contributors to this was a woman named Sarah Manette, who claimed she had a near-death experience during a failed suicide attempt. Now, I have read that. I have read hers. I have to share all this stuff. I printed all this stuff out in the beginning. There will be a few people captured you won't even notice. And they're gone. 8 in Noah's time, 4 from Sodom and Gomorrah, cities and towns. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Because of the nature of the call out ideology, AVAL became a forum mostly dedicated to preparedness and the study of eschatology, along with a heavy reliance upon the dreams and visions of members on the forum that they would share. All right, AVAL wasn't the only forum of this type, but the call out idea went from AVAL to other forums. In 2006, a man named Denver Snuffer wrote a book called The Second Comforter. To me, I think that Denver Snuffer, this is just my take, maybe. I think that maybe he got the second anointing and then he bucked against them. And then, that's kind of these fallouts, like Hans Matzen and Brigitte Matzen. They had a second anointing. Then they were just like, it just don't feel right. Tom Phillips. There's the Huntsmans, I think, or I forget the names of they're like suing the church for their tithing back or something. Okay. Oh my God. It's super bad today. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. Denver Snuffer wrote a book called The Second Comforter. In it, he claimed to have had a one-on-one visitation with Christ, as did Lori. Okay. I think that's code. That's like, hey, I got my exaltation. Right. Did you? Okay. And gained his calling and election. There you go. His exaltation. He then began teaching his formula to others so they too could get this as well. So right there, you could say that Lori read his books. I'd say his books influenced her more than Chad's. That's just me. Okay. 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 I can't ever find my spot. I shouldn't look away. His work. Okay, so he did. Okay, I'm going back to that. He then began teaching his formula to others so they too could get this as well. And it's that whole system of, what do you call it? Gathering or, you know what I mean? Recruitment. There you go. Recruitment. Okay, so goes on to say, his works became popular among these prepper forums. As time went on, Snuffer became more and more hostile to the leadership, as did Chad, and the LDS Church. In 2013, Denver Snuffer was excommunicated. I've listened to all that stuff on him. During this, Denver Snuffer, brouhaha or something on these forums, I'm sorry, it's real fuzzy. Another book rose in popularity. This book is called dun, 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 Visions of Glory. I think every now and then it's like these books rotate and then, they do their damage and then it'll just wait for the next class. That's all I'm saying. Visions of Glory came out in 2012 and are the visions of and near-death experience of a man named Spencer, which we know his real name is Tom Harrison. The quote visions mostly surround the end of the world and Spencer's special role in it. A commonality you'll see amongst the Hydra heads of these groups, right? They all claim to have a special role or mission. The book was written by a man, I'll say it, by John Pontius, okay? And the LDS Church revere. Visions of Glory is beloved by most in these groups, even though there are some big doctrinal errors. John Pontius died, and so Tom Spencer could push the blame for the errors directly on Pontius, as he's done. Okay. All during this time, a member of AVAL who went by the avatar Fellow Dreamer, I think that's Julie Rowe, began to post her visions on AVAL. She would corroborate things like the call out and things in Visions of Glory and say she too had the same visions. Okay. She would also rip things out of the headlines and claim that she saw that as well. Fellow dreamer Julie Rowe intrigued Chad Daybell, who got in contact with her, and together they wrote her near-death experience. Fellow dreamer is a woman named Julie Rowe. Her first near-death experience is called A Greater Tomorrow. Her book began very popular, not just among members of AVAL, but it spread all over LDS Facebook groups. People were giving copies of her book when they went teaching, home visits, right? Okay. It was still visiting teaching back then. They gave copies to all their family members. Y'all know that Lori was real into. Oh God, dang, that scared the shit out. Y'all heard that? I don't know what the kids stomped or whatever. It scared the shit out of me, as you saw. Hello, post traumatic. All right, trying to hurry. I hope that was them. Okay, crap, that scared the shit out of me. All right. I had been a member of many LDS Facebook groups and forums, and I have never seen anything like this. Not only did Julie Rowe bring her visions about a call out to a wider audience, but she was a student of Bradley Nelson and an emotion code practitioner, which is taught by Bradley Nelson. Many women from these groups got into energy healing because Julie Rowe said God told her it was good in her near-death experience. Something also that it was a special healing gift saved for us in the camps. Okay, Julie Rowe was excommunicated last year, which was in 2020, April of 2020. She is a huge proponent of the idea of multiple mortal probations, okay, and LDS version of reincarnation. The thing about Rowe is she tends to jump on bandwagons of something someone else in the group teaches. It seems multiple mortal probations is popular amongst many heads of the PAP Hydra. Chad Daybell also met another man claiming to be a visionary on AVAL. His name is Hector Sosa. Daybell publishes visions as well. There are so many heads in this Hydra cult. They have a man named Avraham Gigliotti, who is a wannabe church scholar and has spread the idea that there will be a latter-day Davidic servant who will come from outside the church leadership to set things straight. That's probably the Antichrist, okay? Let's just say that. Let's just say that. Anyways, just kidding. I shouldn't have said that because now this is my karma. Okay. And who will come from the outside of the LD. Okay, I already said that. There's a man named Sean Littlebear who claims to be the one who can bring, I mean, who understands this kind of contextual shit? It's not me. There, a man named Sean Littlebear who claims to be the one who can bring the Book of Lehi from his native tribe to the church, as well as bring the Ark of the Covenant. Okay. From its hiding place to the new temple of Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, right? Thanks to his special bloodline and callings. Then we get to Mike Stroud, who was excommunicated last year. He is a retired seminary teacher who also is a believer of the Snuffer doctrines of how to gain your calling and election and being personally taught by Christ himself. Second comforter. That's that whole SLG. Okay, so he is basically a recruiter. That's what I'm reading through all that now versus then. I used to read it and read. I used to read it for what it was then, and I was like, "What the hell are they talking about?" Now I'm seeing it as he's just another one of the recruiters that are trying to use all these methods via book, via word of mouth, recruiting. That's what they do. They recruit into the second anointing, this calling election made sure, this invitation, or could be a call out. Anyways, either way, it's all the new and everlasting covenant, so to speak, and it is modern day polygamy, in my opinion. Okay, and it's set up by not the people. It's set up by the church, in my opinion, allegedly. Okay. Okay, so and that Mike Stroud is also Jason Mau's. He was Jason Mau's seminary teacher. Jason Mao is now a seminary teacher, spreading all his ideas. Right. Ugh. Okay, and being personally taught by Christ himself. And that when something happened, or I can't read it, something happens, he claims you become a translated being. Basically, he believes that the Book of Mormon geography is set. Oh, they're talking about Rod Meldrum. Rod Meldrum. Basically, he believes that the Book of Mormon geography is set in Northern America and not South America. Either way. The biggest problem with Rod Meldrum is he became so fixated by this that he has allowed himself to become affiliated with PAP and all these crazy groups that, I'm sorry, and then took on some of their ideology. Did he? I mean, he's the one that set up Tom Harrison and Ken Krogh, you know? Okay. We were also told that some point his wife allegedly was an emotion code practitioner. We are not sure if I'm sorry, it's blurry if she still is, but it's been told to us, that this was why Bradley Nelson had been involved in at least one Firm Foundation conference. Okay. Allegedly, they said. He, along with the Jameses, who run PAP, and Sean Littlebear thought they had found the missing 116 pages of the Book of Mormon, and Meldrum became so obsessed with proving his theory that he would publish anything if he thought it proved him right. Yeah. Rod Meldrum's conferences were becoming so popular that Mike and Nancy James set up Color My Media and began organizing, again, another media company, just film and art, right? And singing and harp playing and all that shit. It's crazy. Ruby Frankie's daughters, they played harp. Frankie played harp. This is all based out of Southern Utah. Just saying. Chad's from Southern Utah. And he's a damn sexton. Okay. Okay, and began organizing conferences where all of the above mentioned people taught at. They had podcasts where all of these people taught their heresies from. They had seminars and courses, special video series you could buy. They were extremely close to Chad Daybell. There you go. Who by now was claiming he actually had near-death experiences and visions as well. Lori Vallow was also doing podcasts for PAP. Among the people of AVAL and other Facebook groups, couple like, I don't know what they're saying. Couple like Daybell and Roe are referring to as little g, lowercase gods, right? They look to them as visionaries and prophets, but not in the same way as some might have you believe. It is important to understand because this is how this Hydra cult operates, by having multiple little p prophets. So when they lose one, there's another one in place and others waiting in the wings to join. People in these groups also think that all the known false prophets, Snuffer, Rowe, Stroud, now Daybell, and so on, started out legit, but then became deceived later on. So they still will hold on to the initial teachings they came out with. Also, every once in a while, people let slip that there's some strange things going on among the inner circles of all these core Hydra heads. There's multiple cults of I'm trying to figure out what they're saying. I don't know what that word is. Cults of period. I don't know. Personality, maybe? Okay, there's multiple cults of personality going on simultaneously, but getting solid information is hard. Yeah. So how do people get sucked into all of this? Friends and family members bring them in, and I'd say they recruit them in, right? Lord knows the church isn't doing anything to stop it. I couldn't read it. It's blurry. But I think it is personality. Okay. So how do people get so okay, friends and families bring them in. Emotionalism and fear, especially of the last days, is used, but also pride is paramount. Members are being told that they can be saved from doomsday destruction. Yes, but it goes far beyond that. It goes into next life salvation. After reading a Preparing a People course on how to have visions and visionary dreams, they will use people such as Korihor, a Book of Mormon Antichrist, to compare to those who don't believe in their dreams, or they call them pedophiles. They use a lot of out of text scripture and their dreams. I'm sorry, scripture and church leader quotes. I'm sorry, which they will redefine words of like, I can't read the word, it's covered up. For example, okay, they use quotes talking about how Eastern meditation, which it is not, and they set the definition what? And they set the definition of the idea spoken of. It's pretty insidious when you look at it. They also will name or calling drop all the time to make what they do look more legit. A member of our page sent us a PM that Nancy James sent them when they spoke out against Sean Little Bear. We will include that for you to read as well. It's a great example of tactics used. Nancy James brings up a position her mother had in order to further her agenda and legitimize it, right? She brings up how her grandfather knew President Benson. She brings up a general authority's name to add credibility. No proof, just name dropping. She then brings up how his nephew is a bishop, Sean Little Bear. Or maybe she's talking about, I don't know. Maybe she's talking about Mike James. So many of these things are bought by members because they are too trusting of anyone claiming to be a member of the church, or because someone told them someone involved was a bishop. Oh God. Or someone knew a general authority. People claim energy healing is good because this prophet or that prophet does it, with no real proof, mind you. Even and even if Nancy James's grandfather knew President Benson, does that excuse the false doctrine she is disseminating today? No. Members of the church need to heed these warnings. And so I'm just going to leave. Okay. Also, for I know this, that after my departure, savage wolves will come in among you, not sparing the flock. Also, they will say that there may be something from Satan. Oh, Satan. Okay. Also, they will say that there may be something from Satan come, like a counterfeit dream. But in the dreams and visions, of course, from preparing a people, you see, they say that most dreams come from God. They are trying to get you to let your guard down. Just because a member is selling you something, it doesn't mean you have to buy it. Be careful who you trust and stick to sound doctrine. Otherwise, it can put you in dangerous territory or your kids. Okay, hold on. That's not really what I wanted to read, but I did. Okay, Sean Little Bear. He still works for the Mike and Nancy James. I'm sorry. He still works for Mike and Nancy James. They don't mention anything about his golden plates. Okay. His marriage didn't last long. She probably found out the world was not ending. Anyways, Sean Little Bear explains his near-death experience that he was struck by lightning. He says he has access to a cave of records because he is a medicine man. The caves have ancient records, and they do. They have a freaking cave in the damn. I mean, they have a vault in the caves. Okay, that's crazy. The caves have ancient records. There are always 3 elders guarding the records. Is this Peter, James, and John, or the 3 Nephites, or the 3 top dudes of the church? I'm just saying. It's like a damn riddle. He said there's. Oh crap. Next. He said they have a set of plates called the Book of Lehi. The Book of Lehi has 16 maps. There are X's along the way that mark sacred locations where sacred things are buried and preserved. Oof. Not only do we have, he's saying, not only do we have this book, they have other plates called the Book of Sarah, I don't know, and the Book of Sam. Sean said that the temple in Jerusalem, it's being built right now, started on March 20th, 2017. He said the Native Americans have the Ark of the Covenant and want him to move it into the temple. Sean prophesied that the end of the world is coming soon. Step on up, right? Stand in line. First, we will see the plagues. The eclipse, that was such a big deal, right? Was a sign. There's a picture I have of Glenn Beck standing with these really prominent people. And it's a picture of them looking up at the sun, at this, whatever. I'm just saying. He spoke of something that his people called the 13 Christ-like children that are spread out. They will be removed from the earth because they are too pure. He met one of them. He's referring to people being translated. Sean explained that we have an aura or shield of light because he is a scientist. Okay, how? He talks about how this works. And you know who else was obsessed with this carbon idea? Was that Milton dude. You know, the 18-wheeler guy. He said, Trevor Milton, I think. He talks about how this works. He said, when you have a deep spiritual experience, here's what happens physically and scientifically. He said carbon 12 and carbon 14 get turned into carbon 7. And it makes you shine. And that's the science behind it. Okay, what else? That's what happens. And his people describe it as you actually have your own northern light shining around you. So that's aura. Okay. Hold on. That ain't even the good one. There's one that's troubling. Okay. Sean Little Bear and Kevin Campbell building a sweat lodge in Rexburg, Idaho. Hold on. There's just one last thing. Then we will part ways. Okay, I know it's right here in this block. David Warwick has been around a long time speaking at conferences. He's been on different platforms with Tom Harrison, not just PAP. This is one of David Warwick speaking at the Hebraeus Foundation Zion Conference, May 14, 2016, and that was with Avraham Gileadi as well. Um, then the strange phone call to another guy who I know the name of, um, who ran Pathway to Zion, who says he didn't understand because he was talking about his van needing fixed. But yet, a comment from writer Hector Sosa Jr. displayed on his website frequently asked questions page discusses a situation occurred when he, Sosa and his wife, Tammy, Chad Daybell and his family, and Julie Rowe had lunch together. Julie was told to hold back. I let her know that I was told not to hold her back. She looked at me and said, "Oh, you're the one." She had been told there will be another after her that will witness to the things she held back on. Okay. And that's that weird coded text. Hi, blank. This is Julie just getting back to you about your van situation. If you can't contact Lane, just wanted to let you know site security is on task and secure. We are on lockdown and just a matter of time before given the clear for Pathway to Heaven, Pathway to Zion, and Independence Day. So freedom in the forefront. The grass is green, nails are painted, toes are pedicured, manicured is on the rise. Mantas I don't know how to say that is in heaven are soon to come and call language is effective. Think quick, think fast, catch the ball, you're up, and matter does. Here's the deal. Creatively thinking, creatively writing, creatively, right? Securing, it's time for call out. You're on the list, buckle on up. Set it up, my friend. It's just a matter of time. Talk to Hector. He'll keep you in the loop, fill you in, and let you know where we are on things. Let him know if it's the same because I haven't wrapped the loop yet and he doesn't need the road trip. Anyways, this is nuts. Okay, here we go. I don't want to end it till I tell you all this one thing because it's about sacrificing a damn virgin girl or boy. I don't even know if it said that. MG, okay, Melanie Gibb also knew Chad before Lori came into the picture. So I guess Chad told Lori all the secrets of his seeing through the veil and MG didn't have a clue. It all started with Chad and the Jameses. They moved to Idaho because they followed him. Summer of 2017. Chad meets author and podcaster Melanie Gibb for the first time after he speaks at a campout in northern Utah. Melanie Gibb invites him to speak in her hometown of Mesa, Arizona. So what? He didn't go for a whole damn year? And it wasn't even in Mesa where they met. It was in, I don't know. Chad's forward for MG's book. This is going to piss me off. It's just this little blurb, right? This is from Byron Gibb. I'm sorry. This is Melanie Gibb's ex-brother-in-law now. Wonderfully put. Melanie Gibb was my ex-sister-in-law, and she is all about herself. She told us she was the, quote, gatherer for this group. I cut ties with her 12 and a half years ago. Could not put up with her self-absorbed, moody, awful behaviors. Okay, let me use my search thing. Or is this it? Because it talks about portals too. Okay, yeah. Okay, Sean. This was on Reddit. OP note. This must be Sean Little Bear. Knew the location of a golden walled cavern, which has portals to other dimensions, but requires the sacrifice of a virgin, male or female, doesn't matter, to gain crossover rights. That cave also has the 116 pages, but they're in golden leaf notebooks, which he wanted to compare to the sheets I had. This is supposedly Dan Judd, right? And then he says, Jonathan Neville promotes the Heartland theory of the Book of Mormon, was trying to get one of his child molester friends to help find me a job so I'd give them to him for his collection. And here we go. It says Chode and Julie Rowe were trying to get me to let them write a book about the whole thing, which included very few actual facts. And just so you know, Sean Little Bear is meeting with some of the 12 apostles. This is from Nancy James. I'm sorry they're switching, but just so you know, Sean Little Bear is meeting with some of the 12 apostles very soon. Really, because not people just have access to that. And here we are, Tim Ballard. Here we go. You know, I call him bullshit. He couldn't hold that calling until he was married, which is happening tomorrow. We are filming it. His brother has held LDS leadership callings for many years in Arizona. Then it moves on to about your post of Ezra Taft Benson. My great grandfather was Ezra Taft Benson's father's. Oh my God, hearsay. How about was Ezra Taft Benson's father's mission president? It's like 50 people down the road. Anyways, and heard a voice on the hill Cumorah, which changed the missionary work in the church! Exclamation point. Ezra was asked by his father while in the mission field to read the Book of Mormon every day with the family while he was on his mission, leaving 7 children and a pregnant wife. Ezra did that, and he knew about that, quote, voice on Cumorah, unquote. That is why his father passed on something to his son. Anyways, yeah, the whole crossover rites and the sacrificing thing, whatever. I'm just saying there's more, but we got to go because it's long. It's almost 4 damn hours. Yeah. And okay. And so you have this, anyways, all these people, you have people like Jody Hildebrandt who think that they're righteous. You have people like David Hamblin who think they're righteous, and Chad Daybell who think he is righteous. And Lori Daybell who thinks what she is. Rob Wood said to Summer Shiflett, he said, what your sister has done, she thinks she has done in righteousness. Okay. So it's bad. Either way, it's bad. So anyways, if anybody has anything that they can help with, as far as information, just kind of help and loop it a little bit, yeah, I would appreciate it. But if you could email me at kresha0123@gmail.com, that would help so much. Anyways, I thought I had it in here, but I don't. Love you guys, and I'll see you Sunday. Love always wins. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. Bye.